We are here today to talk about a superhero that absolutely everybody loves, except the fans of that superhero.
Oof.
Spider-Man, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Between Amazing and Ultimate, Spider-Man is selling now clearly in the number one spot. Two books that dominate the top two on the charts every single time that they release. And yet, if you scour the internet, you can hardly find one fan of Amazing. People seem to love Ultimate, but of Amazing. And for over a decade now, fans are asking, what is Marvel doing with Spider Man? Well, for at least the foreseeable future, we have an answer. Is that an answer that has made people happy? Absolutely not. And so, what we're going to talk about in our State of Spider Man comics address is what Marvel has been doing with the character, why it is that it appears to be that no one can ever be satisfied with Marvel's decisions with Spider Man, and where things seem to be going. So, that's the big topic for today. We've got Marco,
Spider-Man. Brr.
Tyler,
What is up, hot dogs? I don't think it works for me.
wow, yeah, you got to put a little something in that.
Little spice. Little.
What's up, hot dogs?
There it is. I had some mustard.
And I'm Sean. How many hot dogs, speaking of hot dogs, how many hot dogs can you suck down in a minute? How many glizzies can you get down the gullet?
We gotta work down phrasing, Sean. Last
July
week you
4th just passed. You know they have the hot dog contest.
I know, but like last week, even Comics Are Dope was like, why is Sean talking about eating something long? And then it was a big pause, and I was like, whoa. But the answer is 12 to answer you, Sean.
Ooh, damn. 5.
That's a lot. Well, we've got a lot of hot dogs in our chat right now. What's up to all of you? Thank you so much for joining us. Uncaged, John, Columbo, Flo, Jedi Ty, Cole, CW Gordon, Enrique Liqueur. What's up, dude? Haven't seen your name before. Happy to have you. Dan, thank you all for joining us. Let's get into it. I love Spider-Man. When I first started reading comics as a regular reader, Ultimate Spider-Man and Amazing were two of the three books I started with. It was those two and New Avengers. So I've been connected to Spider-Man in comics for about 20 years. If you extend past comics, my entire life. The TV show, the comic books, or the toys, the movies, everything, right? Love Spider-Man. When I first started, it was JMS. It was the JMS run on Spider-Man, the run that would lead to the very first time that I came to know that comic book fans get pissed. And that was, of course, the infamous One More Day, which was how JMS's run with the character ended. And it seems like ever since then, ever since One More Day, Marvel just has not been able to find a way to please Amazing Spider-Man fans en masse, at least the ones on the internet. But they tried with the Brand New Day era, and that upset a lot of people because it was Mary Jane and Peter not together. It was Peter sort of back as a bachelor, back unable to get his life together and all that. And it didn't matter who they trotted out. They trotted out people like Joe Kelly. They trotted out people like Zeb Wells, Dan Slott, all these talented writers and artists, and no one was happy. Then Superior happened. And the death threats began. This is the death threat era of Spider-Man comics. Dan Slott had the idea to take Peter Parker off the board and put Doc Ock in pole position as Spider-Man through some, machinations. And, Peter was dead and everybody was upset. That's a big reason why Dan Slott had to limit his social media presence a little bit, because people wanted to kill this man, apparently, which is
Damn.
awful and disgusting, but that's where it went. Go ahead, Tyler.
Well, that's where you dropped off for a bit too, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I was not here for the Dan Slott Doc Ock fanfic.
I remember that era because only through osmosis, because I had friends who would read the books, and I remember being in like the school cafeteria and people like, yeah, Green Goblin somehow, Doc Ock somehow became Spider-Man, and it's all weird and wonky. I'm like, huh, that seems out of the norm.
Yeah, absolutely. Out of the norm. A lot of people say they dropped off with Spider-Man during this time. I jumped back on when Secret Wars ended. And it was Giuseppe Camuncoli, and I thought that run from there to the end was phenomenal. I loved it. Then Nick Spencer took over, and I dropped off again. Because now Peter Parker was sitting on the couch at home with the Beetle or whatever villains he was chilling with. And it felt like, it just felt like Spider-Man plus every D-list villain that Nick Spencer likes. And Nick Spencer loves himself some D to C list villains. And that's all he trotted out alongside Spider-Man. It felt like a Tyler wet dream, actually.
I had Ryan Otley on art too, so you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Showed up.
And it was Boomerang. Yeah. It was Boomerang. Just
Boomerang.
Yeah.
There is. Yeah. See, perfect.
I have a Boomerang sketch up there somewhere. So
Sean
is right. Oh yeah, by Steve Lieber actually, who did Superior Foes. Yeah.
That's good.
That is funny. That's very funny. And so Nick Spencer's run came and went, with very little fanfare. And we've been in the Zeb Wells era for the last couple years. We all know about the Paul of it all. And how hostile the internet has been to this run on Spider-Man. Really hostile. But one thing that hasn't changed throughout all of that history that I walked us through is sales.
Yeah.
Spider-Man is creative team agnostic and story agnostic. Because for all the people that say that they dropped Spider-Man during this or that era, this book is a juggernaut. People are upset that Marvel won't move the character forward. They won't let him be happy. They won't let him be an adult, blah, 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 blah. But then Marvel makes him an adult and gives him a great job and gives him all this money with the Beyond Corp, and that upset everybody. And yet, #1 with a bullet every month. How?
People just like Spider-Man. People like Spider-Man, and I think the people who get on the internet and get upset about it end up being the smaller majority. The rest of them just pick up their books, they read it, they say, wow, I had fun, and they read the next book.
Those Wednesday Warriors are maybe not the most social media presenced people.
Yeah. I would think so, especially considering how KO mentions the Dan Slott stuff was some of his favorite, as he's like stuck around and it pays off. I've heard people fall off and come back on ship. The stuff that we've been reading with Zeb Wells, it's all from a construction perspective. This is a comic and it's hitting the beats that it needs to. It's functioning and doing its work. It works. It's good. It's not my cup of tea, but I understand that for other people, that's still fun, entertaining. The rest of those people, they get on board and they say, look at this piece of shit of art. At the very least, you can kind of be objective and be like, hey, I wasn't bad. I'm not digging it.
I think there's just a comfort level too. I was looking out of curiosity what my first issue of Spider-Man was, and it actually was the first Brand New Day, right after JMS. That was the first one I ever picked up. And I have read every Spider-Man issue since. Every Amazing Spider-Man and Superior. I've read since, and I just think like seeing that red costume is just comfort. It doesn't matter like who's wearing it, who's writing it, who's drawing it. It is just a mainstay in my reading order. And there are runs that I loved. I love Superior Spider-Man. Superior Spider-Man is one of my favorite runs of all time. But then there's like some of the Nick Spencer stuff. I was like, all right, this is a little much, not really my thing, but it looks good, and I think it's at least telling a story that I can follow. So even when it's like I'm not so hot on it, it's still a readable comic. You know what I mean? Like there are some, other runs of other characters where I'm just like, I'm out. Like the way like X-Men pissed me off towards the end, really. I've never really gotten there with Spider-Man, but I also think that means that Spider-Man also never really hits high highs as much as well. I think it's always a kind of just a solid book, which is why hey, your catchphrase, solid, it's fine.
Quote with me.
Yeah, that's why, at least for me, it's a perennial comic that I read constantly.
Yeah. And I think that Spider-Man is a great example of how, you can't just trust what people say online. You really can't. You can't go by that, because if you went by that, you would think that Amazing is the worst comic on the stands, and the sales would probably reflect that. But they just don't. They just don't, and they never have, and I don't think they ever will. I believe it's fair to say that Spider-Man is the only character in comics where it does not matter what you do and who does it, that boy gonna sell.
What if they gender swapped him?
All right, well,
Yeah.
going to the extremes, obviously, you could make anything suck, but as long as there's a some level of, effort, it's gonna work.
And I think the span of Spider-Man from the origins, the 60s, all the way through to, let's say, even the 90s, you have 30 plus years of storytelling that different people have jumped on board, either from the beginning, either from the middle of that, and even the tail end. So you have these eras of people that now you can play on that familiarity and history in different ways. You can play on the people who knew Spider-Man and Peter Parker as the high school kid. You can play him as the guy who just got the job, who just had got into college, who just got married, right? And all of those are variations and groups of people that you can come on board with, where I think you can, I'll infer, you can say, hey, we're resetting this character to no longer be married, and he's a single bachelor again. There are people who relate to that. He gets married again. Oh, there are people who relate to that because there was an era that existed, and that happens all the time. So you get people who are like, wait, that's not my Spider-Man. Other people who are like, wait, that's super familiar to the Spider-Man that I knew. You cover the board with that. That's how malleable the character is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Thank you, Amin Perez, for joining the VI Pals. Just want to shout him out real quick.
Welcome back, bud.
One thing I'm thinking about too, as we're talking about this, is that I think the twice monthly, or at least the pace that Amazing Spider-Man gets released, definitely helps it. I think it allows the story to just have momentum, and it doesn't give anyone really a spot to jump off. That train keeps moving. Even if you're not liking the story, that arc might be done by the end of the month, or in a month and a half, 2 months. So you can maybe like the next story.
Has it always been like that for the past couple of years?
Oh, Sean, right? It's been like that since Brand New Day. I think maybe maybe Superior might have been monthly.
Yeah, I think it's been off and on twice monthly for some time. I mean, I think that it helps Marvel sales for sure, but I think that all that the fact that it can do this at twice monthly shows is that fans are so loyal that they don't even mind dropping $10 a month to keep up with the adventures of Spider-Man. adventures that people say they don't even like. That's power. That's incredible.
And not only that, to also have spin-offs that also sell. You know, Spider-Man is akin to Batman in the sense that there is like a spider section of editors of like an editing line where the strength of Amazing can allow books like Spider-Gwen or Miles Morales, maybe not to like light up the sales charts, but at least exist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to fill gaps, to fill spaces in there.
Yeah.
Not the same kind of family as you might like a Batman or a Superman, because they're not as intertwined with Spider-Man on the day to day.
They rarely interact.
Yeah, so like and maybe that's an advantage, like I think one of the things that we tend to not get frustrated with, but sometimes we feel the weight of, is the existence and continuous interaction with the family in a what would be a Batman proper book, a detective comics book. Well, that one is pretty separate, but a Superman book, like the family exists there as opposed to just being that singular person or that singular character. And I think that also plays into some of the strength of Spider-Man being a solo title.
Spiral Storm with the $5 super chat. Thank you, Spiral. Really appreciate you. Spiral says, no matter what they do to Spidey, he'll still be my favorite character. Now, I love this. I love this because Spiral Storm is always talking on our Discord about Spider-Man. Spiral loves Spider-Man. But Spiral is one of the people who, is frustrated with the treatment of the character over the last few years. And I think that, this is a good place. So Spiral doesn't like the way that Spider-Man is treated. And a lot of fans of Spider-Man feel like Marvel deliberately mistreats the character and, puts him in shitty positions and, does things to hurt him. They put him through the ringer. And I'm here to tell you something that might surprise you. That is absolutely correct. That is 100% right. If you think that Marvel deliberately does things to hurt Spider-Man, you are right. The reason that they do that is the same reason why every other character that has ever existed doesn't get what they want. It's because of the carrot on the stick. You want to see Spider-Man happy. And hopefully you want to see him happy so badly that you will pay to watch his journey to happiness. You want to see him and Mary Jane have those will they, won't they moments because you're hoping that one day they will. That is the goal. That is the stated goal. They knock him on his ass because you're going to pay to see him rise.
It's the hero's journey. That's exactly, but it's the hero's journey in an ongoing story.
In perpetuity.
Yeah, so you have to have the constant roller coaster of rises and falls. And I think that, and I don't mean to accuse Spiral of anything here, but I think there is a sect of the Spider-Man fan base that has an almost parasocial relationship with Spider-Man because he is such the everyday man character that people see themselves in Peter. I think a lot more than like a Superman because he's a little too super sometimes. A Batman, nobody's that rich. It's just Peter Parker is the average guy, which was by design. And I think that people just have a lot more of a personal stake with that character.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm seeing a few comments about the idea that not Blue Spaceman, sorry. Dan says hate buying and watching are definitely real. There's a few comments of that nature about hate buying. And look, yeah, 100%. There are people that hate buy it. There are people that buy it because they've always bought it and it doesn't matter what's happening in it. They might not even necessarily read it, but they're going to buy it. the thing with that is, right, and why I don't think that that is the reason why Spider-Man is number one is really simple. There are too many people buying this damn comic for it to just be a hate read. And yes, there are a lot of people that will never stop buying it, but it's too much. It's too much. What this shows is that what people say on social isn't always reflective of the world. It's just a fact. There's no way that a comic book is selling at number one every month. It drops twice a month. Sometimes it's 1 and 2. There's no way that a comic book is selling that well, and it's just because people hate it and they're buying it. It's not the case.
I mean, like working in customer service, you understand that people who are upset are more vocal. It is easier to get a bad review on something than it is to get a good review. You have to be really good for people to want to write in to praise you for it. And I think that's the same when it comes to critique of comics. I think online, the discourse is going to be a little more vocal when people think it's bad, but I don't think that necessarily means that it's the majority of people, if that makes sense. It's just more people want to, I guess, are more, when they're dissatisfied, they're more vocal about it. So I think that extends to social media as well.
And
Yeah.
MPL Murphy makes a good point. That shit's $4.99 an issue. How can you hate buy at that cost? Yeah, right. Cost of comics are going up. If you're buying the book just to not be favorable for it, okay, you made a sale, but like that's hurting your wallet too.
I think that therapy is needed at that point.
Who cares? Let people spend their money how they want to. And we know that comic books, it's an expensive niche.
Yeah.
So people have the money to spend. And I'm sure there are people who do that. I just don't think that that amounts to number one in sales. Spiral asks, how much is Ultimate selling? That's the other side of this whole deal. Spider-Man is so beloved that Marvel was able to launch an Ultimate Spider-Man that is essentially giving everybody their dream Spider-Man book that has no conflict, no drama, no heat whatsoever. It's just Spider-Man and his amazing family. And it's selling number one every month. It's the hottest comic.
It's beating Amazing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right now it is. It is the hottest comic in comics.
Do we know what reprint version we're at for issue 1? I think we might be
I
on
don't
like
even know.
8, honestly. Like, it's insane.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Chichetto, the reason why Chichetto can't put out any more issues is because he's too busy doing variants on it.
Wanted to shout out MP for the $5 super chat. Thank you very much. It's a balancing putting characters through the ringer. Too little and it becomes boring. Too much and reader anger will eventually turn to apathy. Yeah, I've had the thought of like taking a 2-issue break in between arcs feels comfy. It doesn't always apply, but I think it's something that allows you to reset emotionally after like an arc or after something of consequence happens, and then you can dive back into things. But if you persist in that realm of calm and collected for too long, the enjoyment of it becomes, oh, am I now just kind of watching a slice of life sort of story? Is this becoming Spider-Man goes to the grocery store? It's like, no, like Spider-Man goes to the grocery store and then Vulture bursts through the door. Like the stuff has to happen there for it to warrant the excitement.
So you need aftercare after some emotional story arcs, Marco. Is that what you're saying?
Saying it's not a bad idea.
He needs a little Spider-Man cuddle afterwards.
Yeah, dude.
Maybe a cigarette.
I need a little kiss in the forehead, pat in the head.
Well, it's like a beach episode, right?
Yeah.
Like I think of like post gang war, there was that like quick blood hunt tie-in. I didn't care much for it, but it was like a quick like, all right, brain off, reset, and then we're gonna jump right into the more Ed McGuinness stuff. And that's always been the cadence of Spider-Man, like crossover event, like something that you can like name a trade after. Cool down issue, maybe 2. and then another one, and and I think that's also comfortable. You know what I mean, Sean? Like, like the
No, I
rhythm,
kind of don't.
the
I
rhythm
don't.
of Spider-Man, I think, makes sense to me.
I don't think that's true though. I don't think that that is the rhythm of Spider-Man. I mean, they just got caught up in Blood Hunt. I don't feel like, you know.
I mean, that was a cool down in my eyes because it was like, all right, I don't really care much about this, so I can care about the next one. Uh, but I don't know. It always feels like it's just a series of hills.
Make sure you guys are smashing that like button. Appreciate the super chat so far. If you want to join the channel memberships are open. You can click the join button for that. I want to see us hit 50 likes here before the show's over so we can play a game a little bit later.
I want to spin that wheel.
Sequential Geek says saying people that are upset are mainly vocal is BS. People praise out loud all the time. 25 years ago, when things like 100 Bullets and Ultimate came out, people loved it. When you have creators saying things like, then don't buy my book if you don't like what I do, that is whack. Calling fans toxic just matches times of how dismissive people are. Profit is not valued. Okay, Sequential Geek. So let me ask you this question. Do you think that a person who is creating anything, whatever it is, doesn't matter, should be beholden to what exactly the fans want them to do while they're creating? Or do you think that that creator should do what they think is best based on their talents and based on their ideas, since they're the one with the pen, right? Or whatever it is, and let the chips fall where they may? Because what it sounds like you want is AI to spit out endless stories that appeal to you exactly. But that's just not the way it is. You don't have to like what someone is doing, but to tell the audience, hey, if you don't like it, don't buy it, that's pretty reasonable. What else is a person supposed to say? It doesn't matter if you as an individual like it. The person is doing what they think is best. They were hired to do a job.
I'd
Say
also
McDonald's.
two things here too. First, the idea that 100 Bullets and Ultimates came out 25 years ago blew my mind. But also, I think you need to recognize access between creators is much different than 25 years ago. Like 25 years ago, we didn't have social media. We were on the cusp of it, and maybe you had forums and stuff like that. But direct access to creators and that open forum between fans who can be anonymous and creators was non-existent.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. It was in the 90s. We had plenty of forums and things.
That's
Creator access was very, very easy at that time. And I have actually looked at forums from that time to do some of the history of stuff. And let me tell you, people were bitching then too.
But
it is ridiculous and false that people were not on the internet whining 30 years ago. People were doing it 30 years ago.
But I'm talking direct access, Sean. You didn't need to be on forums to market your book because the companies wouldn't market your book. Like creators kind of need to be online now to be able to sell their books. So they need to put themselves out there. It's not really an option. So they are, I don't want to say inviting, but that is invited to have that direct communication where they can just DM someone and get an alert on their phone. You know, it's more direct than a forum.
One of Sequential Geek's follow-ups is they have to have talent first. And for something like the current Spider-Man run, like I don't think Zeb Wells doesn't have talent. I just think some of the plots or some of the things therein don't mesh with certain people, and the option therein isn't to recognize that, but to be divisive and deride that.
I mean, that's not a good faith comment. Like, there's no reason to interact with that. Like, if you think that Zeb Wells doesn't have talent, if you think that talent is the issue here, then you're just not arguing in good faith, and there's no reason to engage with that kind of thing. That's just bizarre.
They're writing Spider-Man. There's talent.
Yeah,
you don't get there.
You didn't get there because you're a hack. You got there because people like what you do, and you don't have the #1 selling book in comics for 2 years because you have no talent. That's an inability to accept that not everything is just going to be for you. And that's life. And if you can't do that, then that's your problem. MP with the $5 super chat. Thank you. Does the question of legacy matter? Sales may be reliable, but does that mean worthwhile stories are being created that will be remembered? Well, that is a different subject. So let's take a look at the last 20 years of Spider-Man stories, focusing on that character. How many of the stories that have been told of the last 20 years rise to that, you know, the notion of, oh man, this is going to be remembered, X amount of years from now. One More Day, because of the drama associated with it, and the original Ultimate Spider-Man. That's it, I would say. In terms of really memorable stories that will stand the test of time. And I guess maybe Superior. I just didn't read it, so I can't speak to that. But that's it.
I think that's kind of what I was getting at too when I said like there's no like real highs with Spider-Man. I think it's generally good, but like Superior is probably the last big Spider-Man story.
Yeah. But it's just not a Peter story, which is crazy. But yeah.
It eventually becomes a story, but yeah, you're right.
Do do characters that are created count? Because as much as he is a meme, Paul has become something of like
He's just a meme. You don't see Paul action figures coming out, Marco. It's not marketable. You can't market Paul. It's an internet meme at this point.
just wait till the ultimate version comes out.
Yeah, I don't think it's tough because, not every story is going to be a home run in the sense that it becomes, this memorable thing that we're talking about 20 years later. That's not it's rare to find, and there are decades of comics that don't necessarily have those stories. What are the most memorable because they were good Spider-Man stories of the 90s? You know, there's this recency bias that I think we have. Not that MP was saying that, but like there's this recency bias that I think we have where we look at the present moment and we go, "Oh man, things are so bad. These stories aren't going to stand the test of time." But when I hear about 90s Spider-Man, I hear people bitching about how bad those books were. I don't hear, "Wow, that was such a great time for the character." What were the great Spider-Man stories from 97?
The discussion about '90s Spider-Man was more on the art front than really story or content.
Right.
The story's like, oh, Venom was created. Cool. It's not Spider-Man, but it's Spider-Man adjacent. Black suit stuff.
But I feel like that's typical of the comic cycle. Like, uh, for me, the last thing that even beyond, let's say, using another perennial character like Batman, New 52 with Scott Snyder, Court of Owls is the thing that people will reference to me who aren't activated readers because they've heard of those things. Like these things come in such waves that it I think there's an expectation that the next arc or the next thing has to be that big mind melting storyline, and I don't think that that's a fair way to judge the contents of a character or a run because you're gonna find, in my opinion, you're gonna find a stable storyline or a stable plot to be more constant than one that continues to grow and grow and grow and overstep the other one.
MP also asked, like, long term though, won't that lack of memorable stories hurt the overall health of the franchise? I don't think so. I think it helps the overall health. Maybe not in a trades and like, oh, here's a Spider-Man story you can give to your friend. But I think in terms of like monthly comics, it helps because it's so consistent. Like what we talk about is how Avengers can sometimes be so inconsistent, and there's some runs that people just drop off completely and they come back to it. Spider-Man is pretty much even keel for the past 20 years, I guess. Maybe 20 is a little much, but like since Brand New Day, I would say.
And I think for ongoing comics like that, that's what helps it long term because that means it creates a stable base. And the events, those big events that come up, those are the things that introduce new character or new readers for the character. And then you grow the base from there based on how consistent you can maintain the quality of the book.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that I don't think that there's any evidence that Spider-Man comics have been bad. I think they've been solid. I think they've been consistent. And I think that when you have something that is, you know, guaranteed to sell the way that Spider-Man has been, you're looking to make sure that that continues. And they've done a good job of that. You can't, I feel like there's a desire to diminish the sales by saying, oh, well, people will buy it regardless. I mean, you can say that, but I think something is working. Something is working. And Marvel is continuing to give us that. And if you want that to change, people en masse would have to decide we're not going to buy this anymore. But they didn't do it during the Clone Saga, which Spiral Storm points out, those reprints still sell and people still buy it. And that's considered to be one of the worst Spider-Man stories ever. It's all I've ever heard about it, is how bad it is.
But I'd also counter with it's some of the most well-known Spider-Man stories ever. Like, if you try to think of like a Spider-Man story in terms of like story name, Clone Saga comes up there. Kraven's Last Hunt, sure. But like in terms of the actual, like something you can gift a book for, Clone Saga is one of them. So it's at least recognizable.
I mean, it's not in dispute that it's one of the most well-known Spider-Man stories of all time. It just happens to be bad,
Yeah.
according to people. But that doesn't matter. Huh?
You ever read it?
No, because I always heard it was shit.
Okay.
So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to waste my time.
Avoid
Not
that
according to
Spider-Man
the
book
pals,
club.
then.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Spiral Storm says, I'd argue the Clone Saga is popular nowadays in its way. I mean, by sales, yes. But again, I've never seen the narrative of it change.
Yeah, it's ever been like, oh, we reflected on that book, and actually, sleeper.
It's usually like, oh no, they're doing something Clone Saga adjacent in the main title. Uh-oh.
Right. Exactly. It's not seen as a good thing.
Oh no, Jackal showed up. What are they doing?
Right. Yeah, you get nervous. You start clutching your chest like, ah, shit.
I guess like the animated series did the Clone Saga, right? So
yeah,
that probably did it better than the book, honestly. At least it's, I don't know.
So I feel like we've got this announcement. We've got an announcement as to what is going to come post Zeb Wells. The run that, everyone says they don't like. We've got an answer as to what is coming next. And that answer is the 8 deaths of Spider-Man.
Huh?
Marvel's answer to everybody's spider anger about what is happening with Spider-Man and how they just won't let him be happy is 8 deaths.
One for each leg?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Last week, we talked about who was going to replace Spider-Man. And there was a rumor. Bleeding Cool had some evidence that suggested that Joe Kelly would be taking over. And Marvel has officially confirmed that that is true. This is what Marvel says. Following Zeb Wells' landmark run, writer Joe Kelly and Justina Ireland, alongside artists Ed McGuinness and Gleb Melnikov, bring you a new Spidey epic titled The 8 Deaths of Spider-Man. Stay tuned in the coming weeks for more information on this 10-issue arc launching this fall. And then they gave us a graphic that shows 8 graves with hash marks on them. And we don't know who they're supposed to represent.
Do we think these are actually people? Do we think these are more like Spider-Man goes through something where he just keeps dying, or is this like Gwen? It's her dad. It's J. Jonah Jameson's wife. Like people Spider-Man let die, coming back to haunt him.
I was thinking on it because if he dies, this feels like the death of Miss Marvel. Was he gonna come back like a mutant or some shit?
Don't you even joke about that.
but I think it's attached to like the people in his life. That makes so much more sense um, Uncle Ben being the first, like, and then it kind of spirals out from there. So I was wondering if there are even that many people in his life that has happened to of consequence.
Yeah, let's see. Gene DeWolf, Gwen Stacy, Captain Stacy, Uncle Ben, Harry, although Harry's back.
Yeah.
Um,
Wasn't J. Jonah Jameson's wife a big one during Brand New Day?
I don't remember.
But then she came back during the other Clone Saga that Dan Slott did.
Yeah, unless I'm missing somebody, I can't think of who else would be included in that. I'm not sure what exactly it's supposed to represent. Um, I like that we don't know. I think that makes it kind of interesting and intriguing. The other wrinkle, though, it's not just Joe Kelly. It's also Justina Ireland. And so she is a book writer who's written stuff like she's written some Star Wars books, the High Republic stuff that they have going on now. She wrote a book called Spark of the Resistance for Star Wars. So she's been in the Disney ecosystem. And then she also did the Marvel, she had a story in Marvel Voices, Legends, some Star Wars comics, the Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunt tie-in book, which I actually did read and thought that was solid. So they're bringing her on to work with Joe Kelly on this. I thought that was pretty interesting.
So I kind of bashed the Joe Kelly thing. I thought it was a little too much returning to the well previously. But the fact that Joe Kelly is being teamed with somebody relatively new to comics, I actually really like this idea. I think that's a good way of helping build a voice in comics with someone who's a reliable hand. I don't think Joe Kelly's going to light anyone's pants on fire. Maybe this will. Who knows? But I think that's a good team up, and the art team is stellar. So I think I'm a little more warmed up to this now that I have a bigger picture on it.
Doesn't hurt to get help when creating and plotting stuff out. So I think the fact that you're getting, two heads instead of one can help probably even each other out, but maybe even elevate.
I mean,
bounce off ideas with people.
I think, remember when it was, maybe you don't, Marco, but Batman Eternal, that was during Snyder's run of Batman. They pretty much brought Tinian into the main DC line. And Tinian was his student, as Snyder's student. So it was like a way of kind of, I don't know if it was showing him the ropes, but that's kind of what it felt like. And it made a star in comics because that kind of mentorship-ish situation, or maybe it's just like plotting versus, script writing. And I think that's helpful, especially with a book that is, twice monthly.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I think mentorship and apprenticeship in comics is always a good thing. And getting her name on a high profile book like this can only do good things for her career. So that's really great. I am pretty happy with this. I don't necessarily get the feeling though that this is the new era. Like I'm not all the way sure I believe that this is this is what's going to go on after these 10 issues.
Do you get transitional champ feel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of do too. Which is not unnormal for something like this. Sometimes you do get a quick little run by somebody else before you do the next big name.
Yeah, which I'm fine with too. I really like Joe Kelly. I'm so glad that Ed McGuinness is staying on. Gleb Melnikov is very interesting for this. They're saying and more, so I assume there will be more artists involved at some point, which I'm also fine with. Bring it on. I'm into it.
I'm a big Gleb Melnikov fan.
Yeah, he's good.
So I am hyped. He did the wasn't Gleb the one that did the Brainiac Queen bit? And
yes.
Yeah, that kind of
Recently.
like manga-esque cartoony style. I don't think he's worked at Marvel, or at least not anything that I've read recently. So seeing it on Spider-Man is like, oh hell yeah.
Yeah. Friendly Neighborhood Comic Guy says, personally, I'm super excited for Joe Kelly's run. Nonstop Spider-Man has been on my must-read list for a while, and I've heard great things about it. Yeah, dude. I'm also excited for this. I think, it's funny, right? Like, the internet doesn't like this announcement either. Like, there's been nothing that has been announced on the ASM front that people have liked since I have been reading comics. So that's a really long time for the internet to have the same opinion about something that has continued to sell at number one. So I kind of just ignore it now. I mean, I'm into this. I think it's exciting, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Um, Adam Smith, welcome back. Good to see you, dude. Glad you're here. Glad you made it. Um, Friendly Neighborhood Comic Guy follows up. Been loving Spider-Man Blood Hunt. Only thing outside the main event I've been reading besides Blood Hunters. Yeah, the Amazing Spider-Man tie-in book was good by Ireland. So happy to see her getting a little bit more attention from Marvel. Pedro Daniel says, I'm 100% certain they are going to bring Jerry Duggan to write ASM after this arc. And from what I understand, Junior Jr. is sticking around on ASM. So Duggan and Ramita Jr., I guess we'll see. Pedro, source that for me, please. Your name is new to the channel. Pedro, are you really Nick Lowe? Are you Nick Lowe on the low? Do you have hidden knowledge? Is Nick Lowe your friend's dad? Is that how you got this info?
My
Pedro,
uncle.
yeah, Pedro is Nick Lowe's Akira Ishida.
Welcome to the channel, dude. Please share your knowledge. How did you come about this?
Jerry Duggan on Spider-Man is gonna give Sean a jump scare.
I like Jerry Duggan.
You did like his Iron Man stuff, right? Which I heard very good, actually.
I liked Iron Man. I liked Marauders at first. I thought the first half of Marauders was pretty good. I just didn't really like X-Men that much. And actually, X-Men was fine until the Fall of X. So
Pedro said, nah, man, he's not giving up those sources, bro.
says on Portuguese. That's okay.
That's fine. Akira was Japanese.
You could be that. You could be Portuguese. That don't mean you don't have sources. And that doesn't mean that your friend's dad doesn't know Nick Lowe or is Nick Lowe. You can have a friend whose dad is Nick Lowe. Cates, Marowak Oscuro says Donnie Cates. I mean, that'd be phenomenal. We don't really know what Donnie's doing and where Donnie's going to land at, but I think that would be excellent. That could be a lot of fun. Yeah, we don't know yet with Cates.
How do you guys feel about JR staying on after this, if that's true? Like, I get that this is an in-between sort of, reset until we get like another ongoing, but how would it feel to have him back on the book?
I would like JR to stay at Marvel, but I don't want him at Spider-Man anymore. Like, I understand the reason for it because it's like, it's iconic. Like JR Spider-Man is pretty, it's comfort food for a lot of people. So it's a safe bet most of the time. But I kind of want something a little different, if I'm being honest. Plus, that schedule for him is, like, JR will work his ass off. Like, dude's drawing on vacation.
Oof.
Like let's give him a monthly instead. But hey, if he needs the pages, go for it.
I think we got a very nice chunk of junior art for a couple years now. I think it's time to pass the baton. Give that a break. Give that a break. Amin says Kate's on ASM would make me pick up ASM again for sure. Yeah. I think a lot of people would love to see that.
I would just like to see Kate's back at something. I hope he's
Doing well.
doing all right.
It's wild though, because it's like, I think I'm at the point where it's almost like, does Marvel even care to put somebody that big on ASM? I don't think so.
Not only that, Sean, I don't think Marvel cares that much to put someone that big on a comic.
Nah. Hickman is all over the place.
Sure, but I think that's their guy, Like he's reliable at this point. He's doing Aliens versus Avengers. Like I don't know if that's was Hickman's pitch. Something tells me Marvel might have sourced the pitch, but I think he's just their guy, and I'm not sure they really have another guy. If that makes sense, or do they really even care to get another guy?
They're going to support the books however they need to, and like
which is what it sounds like they would write in an email to staff when they lower page rates for all the writers, so they get people who they can charge lower page rates to.
oof. Let's not put that out there. Hopefully they get higher page rates.
I mean, we know that Marvel's page rates not the best compared to other companies.
The Trick says Nick Klein on ASM, just 5-6 issue mini going wild. Man, that would be hot.
I would like Martin Kokolo on there as well.
So ultimately, when it comes to Spider-Man, I think that Marvel's aware that they have a golden goose. And Marvel has had this golden goose for what, 60 years or something like that. And it's the gift that keeps on giving. And I don't think that ASM is ever going to stop being the juggernaut that it is. I think that they've delivered consistently in that time frame, and there have been some major highs and some lows. There have definitely been some lows, but I think when you look beyond the 80s, what we've seen most is just solid comics. And I don't think that there is anything in the world wrong with that. Would I love for there to be something that really, reaches the highs of, like, I don't know, take your pick? Yeah, sure, of course. You always want comics to be as good as they can be. But everybody doesn't want the same things. And I think what you can definitely say about what Marvel is giving us with Spider-Man is that some segment of the audience, enough for the book to be the #1 seller, and enough for them to be able to launch another Spider-Man book that is also a #1 seller, they're giving those segments of the audience exactly what they want. And that's consistent Spider-Man. Who can argue with that? So I say the state of Spider-Man is solid.
Jeez. Long trip for that short drink of water.
It's the new, it could be good.
Look who's talking. The man who invented solid.
Huh? Not my fault the books are like that. Pretty good.
Oh, The Dark Knight Returns. Solid. Unreal.
It's an okay book.
Style So Serious says ASM needs fresh ideas. Steal Kelly Thompson from DC. I would love to see that. Not going to happen. But I would love to see it. Couching and Slouching with C. Bizzle says, give me Jamal Campbell or Sanford Green on ASM with either Hickman or Daniel Warren Johnson writing. I know it's a pipe dream. Dude, that is the pipiest of pipe dreams.
Yeah, that's
I bet.
That's some real fantasy booking right there.
You need to be smoking out of a pipe to get to that dream.
That's the slouching part.
Yeah.
Oh.
You need to bring a loaded pipe to Nick Lowe's house to get that dream.
What is like dream creative team on Spider-Man for you guys?
I don't have one, I don't think.
Honestly, like, on paper, it kind of already happened, and I didn't care much for it. I really like Dan Slott's Spider-Man. I'm a fan of Dan Slott's Spider-Man, and Stuart Immonen is one of my favorite artists of all time. That run happened, and it was fine. It was gorgeous looking, but it was also like during a time of Spider-Man that was like post-Superior, that was kind of in a rebuilding phase. So even when you get your dream team, it depends on where the story is at the time, whether it's primed for a good run or not. It was good.
I always wanted Bendis to get the main title call up.
Yeah.
Nowadays, obviously, I don't think that would play, but that was always I always wanted Bendis.
Do you think, even though he's in Dark Horse jail right now, Do you think if they announce Bendis as the writer of ASM, that's a big deal, even in 2024?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that carries weight. That carries historical context for Ultimate Spider-Man. It's like, wait a minute, he got called up. All these years later, he's there. He's doing it. I I would take I'd take Bendis. I'd be interested to experience that. And then I like Marcos Martin. Love his like all the little side stories they get. With Spider-Man, I think his art fits so well.
Pedro Daniel shouts out Jeremy Adams. That's an interesting name.
Huh.
I I I would enjoy that. I think
cool.
Jeremy Adams is a good hand. I've been reading Fantastic Four and Ryan North. I know Tyler shouted him out last week. Ryan North would be very good at it as well. I think.
Matt shouts out Morrison and Quietly. I don't know if I want a Morrison Spider-Man, honestly.
I like that. He plays with like the web somehow.
It's
like
like
go back time and shit.
it's like mixing soap and oil.
That's exactly what I don't want in ASM. Like I hate all that web shit, all the totem stuff. I really
I do hate that stuff.
God.
Unless they bring Madam Web back into the fold. Her web connects us all, everyone.
Oh wow.
Connect us to the comics.
Marowak Oscuro says Bendis is the best Spider-Man writer of the century. You know, dude, I completely agree with you. 100%. I think that is absolutely accurate. It's a shame, though, that the best Spider-Man writer of the century did not write Amazing Spider-Man. Revolutionary Dragon, thank you for the $5 super chat. I really appreciate you. Honestly, it doesn't matter who writes ASM so long as editorial is still the same. I think that is also true because editorial holds the keys to being able to take things bigger, or smaller. Whatever it is that they want the book to look like is what it's going to look like. And so, Nick Lowe has been in that pole position for quite some time. And I think that, yeah, you're right.
Let's get some more Morrisons in the chat. Tom King from Gino French Jr. I don't think I've seen your name before. Welcome. On ASM would be great. Have you guys read Friends Neighborhood Spider-Man? Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man? I didn't want this to get missed, but earlier CW Gordon said Web and R incoming.
Oh no. Honestly,
Why? Why?
So funny, dude.
It sounds like Ezekiel shows up in that comic as like the version of Captio or whatever.
Oh my God. Web and R, dude. I want to. Oh my God. I'm turning into the Green Goblin.
Electric says Morrison on Spider-Man is like David Lynch on Superman. And you say David Lynch on Superman, and I am interested in that. I would like to see that. So I can finish it and not know what happened.
I'm with Blaze, man. Don't give King any ongoings, minis only. Dude, after I finish that Batman run and with what's happening in Wonder Woman right now, oh my.
Oh, you mean good comics right now, Sean?
Yeah, that's it. Amin says JMS is greater than Bendis. Okay. All right. Fair enough. I mean, I started with JMS. I thought JMS was doing great stuff. Sean Murphy, CU50. Sean Murphy for Amazing Spider-Man.
Ooh.
Peter Parker deals with the rent prices.
Hey,
actually, it's relatable.
Valid.
Yeah.
New York right now, valid. I'm trying to buy. Me and Mary Jane are trying to buy a home. What?
Spider-Man moves up to Putnam County.
Atomic Hal, what are you trying to do to me? Why would you request that? You want me to drop Spider-Man? Is that what you want? I dropped Wonder Woman. I don't want to drop Spider-Man, but I've done it before. I'll do it again. And it's worse because I continue to buy books that I don't read. Like I have Jason Aaron almost his entire Avengers. I might have the whole thing. And I only read like the first 10 issues. When I drop a book, that means that I don't even think there's a chance that anything that's going to happen in there is going to be for me. even in the future. So that's what I had to do with Wonder Woman.
Strong for that Avengers run though. Ed McGuinness.
Nah, dude.
Drawing the
Not
Squadron
enough.
Supreme.
The idea of Odin fucking the Phoenix
Raw
and Thor
dogging.
coming out of that has go away heat for me. That is one of the worst ideas I think I've ever heard.
What about when Howard the Duck becomes Phoenix?
That's funny.
That happened.
That shouldn't have happened. That should definitely not
There was
have
like,
happened.
did you maybe you should check out that one arc, but there was like a Phoenix competition to see who becomes the next wielder of it, and they have like they have heroes just fighting each other with Phoenix powers, but like the costume designs are good stuff. Like Zabu had the Phoenix power, and I was like, hell yeah, let's go. That's Khazar's saber-toothed tiger, Marco.
What?
Style So Serious says Wonder Woman is great, Sean. You tripping? Hey, listen, man. A lot of people love it. It's not for me. I am done reading the Sovereign's endless monologue.
I agree, Styles is serious. We need to get Sean some knee pads. He keeps tripping on this. Like, it's good stuff.
Oh my goodness. Bean Sartley for Spider-Man? Sure. Why not?
Too busy
That's
buying the books,
good.
not writing them.
Right. Yeah, he's not much of a writer. Enrique Licour says Teeny Howard on Amazing Spider-Man. What are we doing? Chat, what's happening right now?
I don't mind that.
Stop
actually.
it. Stop it, please. Did you read Catwoman?
No, I never
read
read.
Harley?
I've never read Catwoman or Harley Quinn. That's just not books I read. But Excalibur, I did like that.
Stop it. If you haven't read those two, then you are disqualified from talking about whether Teeny Howard should be on anything going forward.
I'm just saying her Marvel stuff I enjoyed.
Yeah, how was X of Swords?
I wasn't on the show for that. I enjoyed X of Swords.
I don't know.
Oh my god.
Sean, you do action figures and they have people facing off in combat. It's just good comics to me. So X of Swords was down my alley.
Wow. Okay. Thank you guys for all the engagement throughout this conversation. We are far from done with the show. Far from done. In fact, we're not even done talking about Spider-Man because Spider-Man is going to come up again not too long from now. What I want to talk to you about right now is what's going to happen on this show next week. Because live with us next week at 10:15 a.m. Eastern will be none other than Ram V, who I noticed nobody suggested write ASM. Why not? You don't think Ram V could do the job?
A whole bunch of familial trouble, going back generations, generational trauma. Spider-Man does have daddy issues.
Yep.
Yeah.
Does he? I don't really feel like he does.
I think you could write it. His dad, being, like what is he, a spy? What's the canon on Peter's dad? I always forget the actual canon on that.
I really don't even know.
Shield
I don't
agent?
think Marvel knows. I don't think anybody at Marvel wants to know.
Yeah, like people forget Spider-Man has a sister that's alive still,
So we're having Ram V on the show next week. We're going to talk about all the awesome stuff that Ram has been up to in the year plus since we last spoke with him. Dawn Runner, One Hand, Detective Comics, all that goodness. I wish we were interviewing him like 2 weeks from now because I have a suspicion that his name will be attached to some pretty interesting DC announcements that are coming up.
Oh.
And he's going to be tight-lipped on all that. But we'll still be able to have an incredible conversation with him every time we get to talk to Ram. It is enlightening and insightful, so I'm very much looking forward to it. Come hang out with us for that.
Barlord says Marvel would actually have to pay him.
Damn.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
Yeah. Hey, they paid him to do Carnage. Ain't doing Carnage anymore.
That Carnage was good too.
It was.
And the Venom too with Ewing, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Pedro Daniel says, I like Rom V, but he stretches the story so much. I dropped Tech because it was so slow, but his Swamp Thing was great. Swamp Thing was excellent.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
Shit, I forgot about Swamp Thing. That was hot. So if you've got if you've got questions for Rom, submit them to us on our Discord server, which you can join through the link in the description. Write us an email at contact@thecomicspals, or get us however you want to get us. If you've got something you want to say to Rom, we will be giving away a copy of any of Rom's trades, any volume 1 of any of his trades, to one listener who is live with us next Saturday. So come hang out with us if you want to win a trade of one of Rom's books, of which at this point there are a lot of good options. The Vigil,
really are
very good.
So shout out on Creature from the Black Lagoon too. Like, this dude is prolific at this point.
Yeah.
I wonder which book he would say he would want people to start with for his own work. That'd be interesting.
Let's throw that to him next week.
Yeah.
Creators get dicey when you ask them questions like that. It's kind of like you're asking me to choose which book I want to sell or which of my babies I want you to get. Like, you know,
like the other child.
Yeah. The other child. He wants you to buy it all.
Sure.
So we've got Rom on deck next week. That should be a lot of fun. I'm excited for that. I also want to talk to you guys about patreon.com/thecomicspals. This is a podcast that is sponsored by you, the listener, and we appreciate every single person who does that, whether you super chat us, whether you are a channel member, or most especially our patrons who, you know, hold us down every single week, and we love to give you guys back what you give us. And a part of that includes a shout out on this very show. So a special shout out to the best pals in the universe, Thunderstruck Rebecca Alejandro, the Hound of Justice, Atomic Hound, who is in the chat, Starcross Catherine Stars, who is in the chat, Red Spiral Storm in the chat. And I also want to thank the Night Stalker, Harris Dajinski, who is with us, Brian Demolisher Del Pozo, Kefis the Incorruptible, Momentum Mike Elliott, Dan the Truth Trudeau, who is with us, Marley Manastorm, Jalen the Sanguine Sorcerer, Slow Flow Dameron, who was with us, Christian Uncaged Harriet, who was with us, Always Laughing, the Spirit of Justice, Izzy Spears, the Great Destroyer, Hyper Viper 89, Adam and Bernie, the Best Boy, who are both with us, Robert Running Back Cashaback, who was with us, Pete the Dreamweaver Collins, Matthew Malice Price, James Just Jamming Jones, and returning to the Palsverse, I am very happy to say, is Amin Almighty Perez. Welcome back
look at that
to the Almighty. Yes, absolutely. Love that. Love that for us. And joining the Palsverse, we have a new introduction. A new introduction to Paul Powerhouse Smith.
No way.
Yes.
Powerhouse.
Yes, indeed. Nobody likes bullies. The person who picks on those weaker than them or more timid than them, who uses their power to take advantage of others. The exact kind of person that Paul has detested his whole life. Paul was always a bit bigger than the rest of the kids growing up. His size made others think he'd be a bully. So the people he wanted to be friends with were afraid of him. But the rougher kids liked poking fun at him for his size. This meant that Paul spent a lot of time alone reading comic books, unable to really make friends. Nobody willing to see him for the gentle soul that he was. One day, on the way to class, Paul witnessed a kid in his class being bullied. Paul would tolerate a lot of things if they were aimed at him, but he couldn't sit idly by and watch someone else be mistreated. Just as the kid was being stuffed into a locker, Paul approached the bully from behind and grabbed him. With uncanny strength, he lifted the boy, who looked over his shoulder and was shocked to see Paul there. With ease, Paul shucked the kid across the lockers. The bully took off, embarrassed and shocked by the strength that Paul displayed. Paul approached his classmate, who could hardly believe what he'd just seen. He said, "Thanks a lot. Is there something I can do to pay you back?" Paul smiled and replied, "Would you have lunch with me today?" Paul developed a reputation that day that would follow him for the rest of his life, a protector of people who others think to prey on. Paul's love of people and comics made owning a newsstand a perfect job for him. He got to interact with people every day, build relationships in his neighborhood, and get comics into the hands of local kids. All of that is why Paul is angrier now than he's been in a long, long time. Things have been getting bad in the city, but now they're on his block, attacking his people. Unwilling to watch this happen from his newsstand and do nothing, he steps away from it to handle a different kind of business. He grabs an attacker and chucks him out into the street. His overwhelming strength allows him to make quick work of these people. He notices they've got a faraway look in their eyes, like maybe they're not all there. Just then, he notices a man walking toward his street with a machine gun trained on a huddled up group of people. Without thinking, Paul dives in front of the group and drapes himself over them as the assailant begins firing his weapon. Paul's shirt is ripped to shreds by the gunfire, but amazingly, his skin is intact. The gunfire stops, and Paul turns around, rushes the thug, and drives his shoulder into the body, sending the attacker flying across the street. Just then, a blinding light hits the sky, so bright it forces Paul to wince and look away. When he looks again, he sees dozens of light spears passing through the bodies of the attackers, sending them all to their knees. The spear's job done, the truth approaches the scene and begins to tell the addled people the truth, that they had experienced mind control. Paul looks bewildered. He had always known that he was different, but he'd never seen anything like this. Hey, friend, that was a pretty courageous thing you did back there. Paul turns around and sees the Hound standing before him, hand outstretched. We're just a few people who aren't willing to sit on our hands while this city burns. Those who can should, don't you think? Paul smiles. The city who has given him so much in his life, and there is nothing he wouldn't do to protect it. Those who can should. Well, thank you, Paul Powerhouse Smith. Thank you for joining the Palsverse. We appreciate you. And hopefully you like your new friends. Wonder what you guys will get up to.
Yo, was that the first crossover?
I think the Spear and the Hound met
Yeah.
in the Spear's origin.
Right.
Yeah, the Hound seems to be the Nick Fury of the group.
I had fun with that.
That was rad. My jaw dropped for that one. I was like, wait a second. Spears of light. Holy shit.
I just wanted to showcase how fun it could be.
Yeah.
You know? Like I see why they wanted to do a multiverse in the films, you know? Like imagine how tickled what's his name? Jon Favreau and whoever else got to write that post-credit stinger for Iron Man. Like how much fun must that have been, you know? Maybe one day we'll get a little bit more of that. Thanks, Paul.
I want someone to sign up and request to be a villain.
Oh.
We've had it.
I know.
Yeah.
I want to see. Well, I want to see more people sign up. You know what I mean? I just want to see more characters in this verse.
Well,
I hate saying the word verse now.
My favorite thing ever just happened.
Oh, somebody just did it while you were.
Yep.
All right.
No way.
Who's next?
Thank you to Andrew Smith, who pledged $10 to the cause over on patreon.com/thecomicspals. You, my friend, are due for an origin next week on the show. Thank you so much.
Hey, live in chat. Thank you so much.
With Rom in play as well.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, well, we might not be able to get to it next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, just tell Ram. Be like, yo, give me a 1 minute story. right there and then.
Yeah, give me
Live.
free work right now. Create a new character for free right now.
Right now.
I wonder how much he would charge. A lot more than that $10. But remember the time we had someone join up with Jeff Johns here,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Jeff kind of wanted to like, oh, we should do
Yes.
this. We should figure it out.
Yeah.
That was fun. That would have been fun. Thank you, Andrew. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Amin says need more villains. Oh, yeah. Maybe next time we will be getting a villain. Andrew, you got a preference there?
It's I feel bad making one of the pals a villain because like villains like what am I gonna write what is I'm gonna write your backstory? Oh, your parents beat each other, you know, like it's rough sometimes because like nobody has a good life to become a villain unless they do. Maybe that's the story. I don't know.
We've got a good amount of villains. We've got a good amount of villains and more to come. More to come. It's fun to write the villains.
Yeah, yeah, it's good stories.
Yeah, I like it. James Jones, what's up, James? Glad you're here. Yes, Atomic Hound. Yes, I hope you enjoyed the little crossover adventure.
And Andrew said he'd always go anti-hero.
Oh, okay.
There it is.
All right. I'll keep that in
Anti-hero.
mind.
He only saves people's ants. That's why I don't get the pen to write these.
There are 23 shout outs now that we're doing every week.
Wow.
Do we need to get you like a CPAP machine just so you get a little more air in your lungs while you're doing this?
You got a fresh pump on the inhaler or what?
I hardly use that anymore, thankfully. It is DC event month here around these parts. And we asked you guys to nominate your favorite DC events to whittle them down to a final four to determine which one would be the subject of our book club at the end of the month. And we've gotten a bunch of nominations, and I'm pretty sure we know what's going to make the final four. It is Identity Crisis, which overwhelmingly was the leader in nominations. Crisis on Infinite Earths, which received quite a few as well. Infinite Crisis, which you guys really want us to talk about. And the Sinestro Core War. Those were the four most nominated DC events. We're going to turn that into a poll for our patrons, and that's any patron at any tier of support this week, and then we're going to determine which of those bad boys we're going to read. Now, I have my sights set on the anniversary edition, the 20th anniversary of Identity Crisis that they just put out. So I'm not telling you what to vote for, but I am telling you that I am prepared to purchase that from Amazon.com.
I'd also posit that Kale and I have deep thoughts on Identity Crisis and complex relationships with it. So,
yeah. Yes. So, MP says, I want to see the Pals tackle Identity Crisis. Well, it's likely, but that's going to be up to the patrons over on patreon.com/the Comics Pals. But in honor of DC Event Month, we are kicking off a new top 5. And that top 5 this week or this month is going to be our top 5 DC events /crossovers. That caveat is important because we are including in this not just the big, crisis events, but also your, Gotham Wars, for example, and things like that.
The Battle for the Cow.
Yes.
Get to Superman. Yeah.
Exactly. House of Brainiac. Your crossovers count as well.
Okay, interesting.
So we are kicking that off today. We're going to do 2. We're going to do our 5th and 4th today. So I'll kick things off because I can see that you guys need a little time to think.
The crossovers threw me for a loop, but I'm thinking, yeah.
Yeah, crossovers count as well for this. So I'll lead us. And I'm going to lead us with an honorable mention. A book that I don't think anybody's going to choose, but I think deserves some play. And that is one of the best events of the last few years, in my opinion. Night Terrors.
Oh,
Oh shit! Whoa! No! Sorry, I was having a nightmare. My bad.
we just woke up.
Yeah.
Hey, we're doing the
Whoops.
show.
What do we talk about bits on the show, Sean?
All right. Yeah. Night Terrors aside, because I think that that would be on a different kind of list. Um, I am going with Infinite Crisis as my number 5. The reason why it's number 5 and not any higher is A, I really love the things that are ahead of it, but also B, of all the things on this list that I put together, I've read this the least. I've read this once and I absolutely loved it. I remember feeling really emotional about it. I thought it was a story that had emotional resonance, you know, with the idea that these were characters who were from another universe, where I remember that they had been happy together, but they got trapped or something like that in this like bubble. And there was Superboy Prime or something like that. Doesn't he like punch through the universe?
Iconic, yeah.
Iconic, right? Yeah, very cool. Great art. This book had art from Phil Jimenez and Ivan Reis and George Perez. Just really great creative team on it. And I really want to read it again. But I remember loving it a lot when I first did. So that's my number 5. And I'm gonna say, I'm gonna have to admit this list is Jeff Johns heavy. And I didn't want that. I really didn't want that. But the events that I've read are largely Jeff Johns events, so it is what it is. My number 4 is Blackest Night.
Okay.
I love Blackest Night. Blackest Night was incredible to me. That was the first DC event that I read while it was coming out because I was still I was just getting started with DC at that time, and Green Lantern was the only property other than Batman that I was following. And so Blackest Night was amazing. I love the concept of the Black Lanterns. I thought there was a lot of emotional resonance there as well. One of the conversations that stands out to me is the conversation between Green Lantern and Flash about death. And I thought it was an interesting, look at superhero death and what it can mean to these characters who often come back from the dead. Great event, great Ivan Reis art. If you haven't read it somehow, you should. It changed the game for DC as a whole, but it was also a great Green Lantern event. So that's my number 4.
I can go. For me, number 5 is Crisis on Infinite Earths. It is, I describe it as a Silmarillion of comic book event books. It is a chunky boy with lots of words, but it kind of laid the foundation for what an event comic can be. Gorgeous art, Perez, I believe. And it's just timeless in a way. I don't think event comics would exist without that. And number 4 for me is Final Crisis.
What?
What?
Damn.
As in, is it too low?
I'm shocked you even know what that was about. I don't know.
The
To this day, I don't even know what
anti-life
happened.
equation. That's what I like about it. Actually, it's kind of what I'm getting into. Morrison's take on a crisis is very obtuse. It's strange, it's weird, but the J.G. Jones art, some of the story beats in it with Wonder Woman and the Martian Manhunter of it all, with was it Libra as a character, and some of the shock value that's in it. I thought it was good. And when I was reading it as it was coming out, because it was like really my second crisis, I guess. I don't know. I don't actually know where it is when I was picking it up, but it was influential. It kind of helped me open my eyes to who Morrison was as a writer as well. And I think it does better on rereads. I think it was a hard book to read month to month. And I think a lot of the crossovers from a month to month basis helped string that along. But I think on its whole, it's actually pretty good. So, Final Crisis.
I defy you to tell me what happened in that book. I'm desperate for somebody to explain that book in a way that makes sense. Go ahead, Marco.
I'm gonna go with my first two ever events. Um, the first one's actually a Vertigo event, the Children's Crusade. So at the time, I was reading a lot of Vertigo. I was being a Swamp Thing completionist, and I came across annual number 7, and it was part 6 or 5 of the Children's Crusade event. So it had Tefe involved, but all of these other characters that I'd been experiencing tangentially in the Vertical world, the Dead Detective Boys. You had some of the kids from Animal Man. Uh, Maxine was there.
What's Books of
Dorothy Spinner
Magic?
from Doom Patrol. Books of Magic. Yeah,
Yeah,
Timothy
okay.
Hunter was involved, and I was so lost. I had no understanding for what was going on, and I realized that this was part of some event series, and so I decided to do some digging, and I picked up some of the other books that were involved in this. Black Orchid crossed over, Animal Man crossed over. They were all annuals, collected in annuals, and the premise of this was there was a world uh, called the Free Country, and these kids were being taken there in their sleep. They were strung along by these other kids who had escaped the tyranny of adults. And so it was written by Neil Gaiman with various artists. And I just remember it being the first time I'd ever really taken into account that these books exist in the same world. In Swamp Thing, there's a moment where like Final Crisis happens, or where Crisis happens rather, and it's very tangential. But this is the first time where direct characters of the books that we're reading were involved and had consequences. And so I found it really interesting, and it was interesting to go back and explore this. So my number 5 is the Children's Crusade. And then my number 4 is Rot World, the second ever crossover. Similar Swamp Thing. You had Animal Man, you had Frankenstein, but it was the first of like the modern era where I'd been picking up weekly comics. I jumped onto the New 52, and I think I started picking up right after the first arc of Swamp Thing ended, and so it immediately led into this, and so I had a blast with that. Scott Snyder, oh my god, French artist, Paquette,
Yeah,
was
Paquette,
doing
yeah.
the art, and so I loved all of it. I love the world. I love the concept. I love how dark it got, how bloody and gory it could be, and how meaningful some of the individual stories, especially for Animal Man, could really be. So it helped me formulate an understanding for the drama of comics more, and specifically for the modern era that I was reading. I'm like, oh, this has the same kind of weight and gravitas that it did back then that it does now.
Also, Jeff Lemire on that too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
I loved
I
his
love
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
The only reason I didn't put it on my list was because I knew you would, Marco.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, it's good
I
stuff.
loved, yeah.
A lot of
Rot
fun.
World was sick.
That the whole section of DC at that time, like that was like the star of New 52's launch in my eyes.
It was, yeah, it popped off hard, and I think it kept its momentum for quite a while. So
Hey, we've got 60 plus of you hanging out with us. Make sure you smash that like button. We need to get those likes up. If you haven't done it yet, hit the like button. Thank you. MP says Final Crisis, Darkseid wins, then Superman sings him away, then Cosmic Dracula shows up, but the heroes beat him in flashbacks. Batman gets lost in time and no one cares.
See, easy.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right. But I feel like a lot of things happen in Final Crisis off panel. It was so confusing. So confusing. Atomic Hound says, let's talk Final Crisis on a hangout. I can give it a shot to explain. I am all ears, Hound.
I would need to reread it, but I'm down for that. Yeah.
I am all ears.
Morrison also expands upon the a lot of the stuff they introduced or dealt with in Final Crisis in other books like Multiversity and all that stuff, like the whistling and that sound, that universal sound, also follows throughout their work.
I would love for you guys to follow along with us by giving us your top 5 as we progress through this month. And also, I am definitely looking to reread, whether it wins or not, Infinite Crisis. But I want to do it with full context. I really want to go into DC's 2000s. I missed a lot of that stuff. Like 52, I really want to read. Countdown, I really want to read. And I've got these omnibuy. I have the 52 one. I really want to dig into it. I just need my way in. So tell me, chat, if I want to do a deep dive into 2000s DC with potentially a presentation coming at the end of that, where should I start?
I would be down for a 52 reread, or first read. Actually, I never finished it.
Never read it. Does that end in? That doesn't end in Blackest Night.
No.
It ends in Infinite Crisis, I believe.
Right. Okay.
Or it's after that.
Reverse. Yeah, 52 is after. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of rebuilding what the DC universe is post Infinite.
Spiral, I would say they count as crossovers. Yeah. I think. At least in my mind. Everybody has a different measurement for what's a crossover, what's an event, what's not.
Every fandom event list of DC Comics, those show up in it. So if they cross over more than one title, I think it's considered a crossover event. So
Harris giving his full list here. 5 0 Hour, 4 Judas Contract, 3 Flashpoint. Wow, okay. 2 Tower of Babel, and number 1 Identity Crisis. So there you go. I think Identity Crisis will probably be on a lot of lists.
Tower of Babel's good too. That's a good point.
Yeah. Amin says number 5 is Final Crisis, number 4 is 52, number 3 is Blackest Night, number 2 is Infinite Crisis, and number 1 is Sinestro Corps War. Wow. I love it.
No Flashpoint. I'd be curious to see if anyone's a huge Flashpoint fan.
Harris said Flashpoint.
Oh, did he? I must have missed it. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Harris says read Countdown. I don't know if I can recommend 52. I thought 52 was the good one. Did I get that wrong? Shit. I bought 52 in Omnibus because I thought it was the good one.
Oof.
Well, 52 is considered pretty, at least what I understand, it's considered relatively good.
I thought so. Harris is saying he doesn't know if he can recommend 52.
Is it because it's 52 issues written by multiple writers and artists? Like, it's a hard recommend, but I think it's well received.
C.W. Gordon says his 5 is Infinite Crisis, Batman Eternal. I like that. Blackest Night, Forever Evil, and Justice League Dark Wonder Woman Witching Hour crossover. Wow, okay.
Okay, that was good. Recent.
Would Kingdom Come count? It's more of an Elseworlds.
Right. I don't think it does.
It would be.
It's not on my list. Sorry?
It would be up there for me, but I'm not in my head. I wasn't even considering it as an option.
Right.
Yeah.
That feels different.
Yeah, I love Kingdom Come
because it's decidedly specifically not in continuity. Like it's not even playing at that.
Well,
it's beyond.
There's your answer, Sean.
Atomic Hound with the $4.99 super chat. Thanks, Hound. Appreciate you. Says Infinite Crisis and then 52 to start 2000s DC.
Yeah.
Okay.
That smells right to me.
All right. Hound's word, my ears. I'll do it. I will do it. Yeah, a lot of people saying 52 is good. A lot of people saying 52 is the good one. Thank you guys for that. I will definitely give that a read. MP says 50 Identity Crisis, Countdown, 52, and 1 year later are really one big story. Is that the order? Is that the order? Because I don't know the order. Jedi Ty gives his 5. Wow, you guys are great today. Crisis on Infinite Earths has 5. 4 Sinestro Corps War. 3 is Identity Crisis. 2 is Infinite Crisis, and 1 is Blackest Night. Blackest Night getting a lot of love today.
Yeah. No Final Crisis, man. I feel like a weirdo.
Yeah, dude. That's why I was really surprised that it was on your list.
When they killed Martian Manhunter, I was like, whoa.
Yo, I thought Sean was like, yeah, dude, you're a weirdo.
Yeah, I thought it was like, oh, it's just too low.
I don't know. Hound says avoid countdown. All right.
There it is.
I will. Well, we've got some news to get into. We've got some news. I told you we'd be talking about Spider-Man again. I didn't lie. Because this week Spider-Man Reign 2 dropped. And whether you liked it or not, I personally enjoyed it a lot. I'm a big fan of the first Spider-Man Reign, and I thoroughly enjoyed issue 1 of the second Spider-Man Reign. The biggest talking point coming out of this was that a lot of people suspected that AI art, that AI generation was used to create some of the backgrounds in this comic book. We talked a little bit about that on the podcast Thursday on Pals Polls, which you guys should go check out. Had a lot of fun. And, look, we looked at it. A lot of the internet was saying this is clearly AI. We took a look. For my money, I can't really tell. I couldn't see that there was AI involvement. I didn't notice it at all on my first read. And, even when it was pointed out, I don't know, it didn't really stand out that much to me. Other people on the panel felt differently. And again, the internet has been ready to witch hunt Kara Andrews big time on the idea that he used AI for this. Well, at least one person who was a part of the creative team has come out to say definitively that no, there was no AI involvement here. And that is colorist Brian Reber, who said, just going to add, or I'm sorry, his first statement was, I'm not one for statements, but Kara and I have been accused of using AI. I have worked as hard as I can ever since I could hold a crayon to becoming a better artist. Art is a part of my goals, my passion, and my dreams. I have worked too hard to hand those over to an app. Just going to add that we have used mixed media photo bashing to build up backgrounds to get a realistic look to the environments. We have done this in all of our collaborations, going back to the Erratic series from AWA Studios.
Okay.
I have seen a lot of people who are more favorable to Andrews say that very same thing. That when you look at his work, there are a lot of instances where you can see mixed media, and it kind of gives that what people have come to believe is an AI-ish look.
Yeah, yeah. And that was what I felt was my call out was it looked like it was rendered differently. It looks like the backgrounds for the images, even the city, were done in a different kind of style than the foreground was. And that to me was felt I could perceive that, but it didn't feel like AI.
You could even look in the original Spider-Man Reign. Like I think I saw some. I haven't read it, but I saw some pages where the buildings are clearly almost CG generated, and then photo bashed over to look more similar to the actual art of the book, mostly for form. But I still think with photo bashing, the question comes up of what were your reference photos for photo bashing? Because photo bashing literally is collaging pieces of images taken online, drawing over it, or literally cutting out pieces to form a bigger photo. It's like collaging, but to form structure, really. So even though, I mean, it doesn't really say that AI wasn't used, but with photo bashing, like you can photo bash using AI generated art. Because it's the reference, it's the photo you're using to do the photo bashing. So there's still work on top of it, but below it can still be, even if they didn't realize it was AI generated, they could have just been Google image searching, getting images, and photo bashing off of it.
But then do you blame them for the unawareness of like having a piece of art that was AI generated in that case? Like if they're building out these panels from, let's say you are doing a digital collage, like I don't think it's then fair to be like, well, this looks like AI art and could have been pulled from that or sourced from that, even if that wasn't their intention. Like, does the blame pass on to them?
I think it could. It could. Just for negligence. Like a lot of Reddit subreddits that deal with art and fan art do not allow photo bashing because it's not actually drawn. it's more collaged and adjusted over. And there are photo bashing tools now that use AI to then to help with the photo bashing. It's more Photoshop than actual art, if that makes sense.
Mm.
And I think if they're not ethically sourcing the images they're using for photo bashing, sure, they're not the ones generating it, but I still think that's a little messy, and it still doesn't ring true to me.
I think we got to stop witch hunting people. I think that going straight to this is AI, this person is, you know, doing something unethical. I think that we're so ready to rush to that in the last year that it's just getting out of hand. And people are doing this without evidence at this point, without
Yeah.
like there's been some credible instances on the DC cover side of things where,
Hell yeah.
even someone like me who really is a layperson when it comes to analyzing art on that level, I look at it and I go, this just doesn't even make any sense. Like this looks like nonsense. There are aspects of this that just don't add up. And there's a huge difference between that and artists using the tools and tricks of the trade that they have had access to for some time. Those are not the same. We know what it means when we're talking about AI generated material, and that now is like applying a scarlet letter to somebody. People who are proven to have used AI art will not work in comics again in the big two or with any reputable creative person
Mm.
at Image or Boom or anywhere else because of the conversation around these pieces. People wanted to tear down Todd McFarlane for the fact that someone entered his contest with AI art and won it. So we have to be very careful when we are throwing around these allegations and accusations. And here is a person, Brian Reber, who is saying, hey, I had no part in anything like that. I don't do that. I am a talented person who has worked very hard to get to this point. I don't do that. So we're not going to take him at his word now.
I mean, it's cool to take him at his word, but it's a collaborative process, so it's possible he doesn't even know, which would suck if that's the case.
I don't know. I think there's a vested interest for some reason in people wanting this to be AI.
I think it's because of the exponential growth of what AI can do. It is scary. Like, look at when we first started talking about AI. It was like, oh, look at these cool little Twitter icons we can make. But now, like, I saw a video recently that was an AI video of a human hand drawing on pen and paper, like pencil and paper. But that was all AI. So even the process video could be AI. So I understand the fear involved for people in the medium because people's jobs are being lost to this. Like concept art, a lot of it is done with photo bashing because it has to be quick and pumped out pretty fast. A lot of that's been taken over by AI art. So I understand the want to call out so that the awareness is there. But it is a little tricky because it can be really real looking. I still think some of this looks a little obtuse and weird in this art. That doesn't look like it clearly, like in my eyes, it clearly looks like something that would be generated. But it's a tough tightrope to walk.
Have you ever seen his other work?
I have, yeah. I've read his Iron Fist stuff.
Does it look the same?
There's nothing here that's different than that.
Well, I mean, I know. I like look at on the page I have up, that window in the background. There's no clear lines there. Like it doesn't. It looks generated. I don't know if that's AI. I don't know how it's generated. I don't know if it's just using the Photoshop tool because Photoshop has generative AI in it now. So if this is photo bashing using Photoshop's tools, it has a button that does it for you, and a lot of it looks like that.
Cole's right. Rain 1 had similar off-kilter backgrounds. People can be too quick to launch a witch hunt. I completely agree.
Rain 1 was using different tools, though.
You didn't read Rain 1.
But I'm just, I don't need to read it to know what tools were around when it was out.
But you need to read it to know what it looked like.
I have to look at the pictures of it.
You didn't read the whole thing. You don't know that the backgrounds look like that.
AI didn't exist at that point, Sean. It doesn't matter.
But it matters because we're talking about whether he used AI or not, Tyler. It matters.
I don't care. I know he didn't use it in Rain 1.
Yeah, but you can't say he used it in Rain 2.
I'm not saying he is. I'm saying it looks like it is.
Don't interrupt me. You can't say that he... No, I didn't. You can't say that he used AI art in this when you don't know... You don't know that. Like, you seem to want to be a part of a witch hunt when you haven't even seen what he did before.
So I'm saying I have used the generative tools in Photoshop, and it looks like that. That's what I'm saying. And if they're using photo bashing, which uses Photoshop, this is what those tools look like. I'm not saying he's using Midjourney or whatever just to make it up. I'm saying that this is clearly what the tools look like, and I've used those tools to know what it looks like.
Nah. I feel like people don't like Carr Andrews right now because of the interview he did with Mark Miller, and there is just a vested interest in hating on the guy. There is no evidence that he used AI, and prejudging work when you don't know anything about it. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it's not fair. And this is going to keep happening.
Yeah. And it's going to get harder to even tell.
This is going to continue to happen. And it's sad. But we got word from one of the creators. I'm glad that Brian spoke out because someone had to shut this down. It's probably not going to end, but maybe Carr will speak to it. At this point, if Brian Reber is saying this, you know what? Let it die. Let the conversation die. Let it die. The vultures who continue to want to witch hunt, fuck them.
Blazeman here says, I don't know who the guy is. Those backgrounds look like AI generated art. It's simple as that. I mean, it's not. I think to what we were just saying, right? And especially as it continues to advance, like if it looks like it, then we can also start to make the assumption as it continues to improve that it looks distinct from the precision it can start to produce. So then even the presupposition is wrong there.
Exactly.
It gets to be so good that the assumption that because it looks wonky is inherently wrong. And so I don't think that it becomes fair from an artistic standpoint to even say that one is or isn't. It could be shit work, could be great work, but unless the individual comes out or we don't have the, what is it? Like what did the other guy do? He did the Joker stuff. He came out and he showed his inks and the images and stuff. Like to whatever degree you can start to show your work. And I think that ends up having to become a conversation moving forward because people are going to make the assumption, and based off that assumption, people are going to have to be defensive about it. And then because you're being defensive, that becomes a problem inherently as well. So like it's a whole combination of things. I don't think it's simple. Yeah, I don't think it's simple.
All right, let's talk about X-Men. The X-Men From the Ashes line of books is about to launch next week, in fact. We've got X-Men #1 coming up, which is by Jed McKay and Ryan Stegman. So pretty solid creative team on that. And that is going to kick off 12 issues or 12 new series of X-Men titles that are impending throughout the summer and throughout the year. And I thought we could go over this list of books and sort of we don't need to go over the list of books, but I do want to discuss which ones we're excited about and what we're looking forward to out of this crop. So we've got the aforementioned X-Men. We've got Uncanny X-Men, which is coming from Gail Simone and David Marquez. We've got Exceptional X-Men, which is coming from Eve Ewing and Carmen Carnero. We've got Phoenix from Stephanie Phillips and Alessandro Miracolo. Nyx, which is coming from the Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing team up. with art by Francesco Mortarino. X-Force, which is going to be Jeffrey Thorne and Marcus Toe. X Factor from Bob Quinn or Mark Russell and Bob Quinn. Wolverine from Saladin Ahmed and Martin Coccolo. And Dazzler, which is coming from Jason Liu and Rafael Loriero. So those are the books, and those are the creative. Oh, excuse me, I didn't get through the whole list. I thought I was done. Storm from Murewa Ayodel and Lucas Wernick. Sentinels from Alex Packnadel and Justin Mason, and Mystique from Declan Shalvey. So a good crop of books. Tyler, what are you most excited for?
Out of these, I don't know, man. Uncanny X-Men sounds interesting to me. Okay, no, it doesn't sound interesting to me. I think the pitch for it seems kind of, I don't know, pedestrian. But Gail Simone and David Marquez, like, have you seen the interiors so far for this Marquez book?
Yeah.
It is gorgeous. I haven't seen Marquez in a while. Like, when's the last time we saw Marquez?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen Marquez in a while, and I
Yeah.
love Marquez, so
Yeah.
I'm glad he's back.
Best part of Civil War too. But like his Batman and Superman stuff, real good stuff. So I am happy to see Marquez back. And the more updated costume designs are really good. Man, even though this book has Gambit on it, I'm still the most excited for it. That's me baiting the comments, Sean.
I'm also most excited for Uncanny. I'm really happy that Marquez is back, like you said. I love Gail Simone. I know that a lot of people feel like that's not an exciting creative team. And it's not like I'm jumping over the moon about it, but I do like both creators quite a bit. And even though I don't love the actual team of characters, it just doesn't get me that hyped. Um I'm in. I'm in on this book. Marco, of the X-Men books that have been announced, which are you most excited for?
Uncanny. Those are definitely the core title. So I feel like it feels nice to come back to. You know what? We got to give Phoenix a shot. Let's see what's up there.
Yeah, you are. We have Pals polls. It's gonna be on there. Like
It-
you're gonna be giving it a shot.
Obligatory. And then I think the other one, Wolverine. It's solid for me. Those are like the comics that I've been reading during the entirety of the run, and so I think coming back to it's gonna feel nice. It's gonna feel homey, and then from there I can start to deviate a little bit more. So those are like the three big ones that probably gonna start with.
Yeah, I'm also excited for Phoenix, of course. How could I not be? And I guess if I had to add a third, it'd be Storm. And it's not
Hmm.
it it's sort of because I want to see, like, I really want it to be good. I really, really do. I don't have confidence that it's going to be good, but I really would love it to be. I read Iodell did a book called Akugon, I believe it's called, and I read the first issue of that, and I didn't love it. And they don't have many other credits in comics besides that, so that's what I gave a shot to. And then he also did, and there was an Iron Man book that he was a part of as well that I didn't really love. So I'm not that confident in what's going on that side of things, but I do love Lucas Wernick, and this is where he's landing. So I'm trying to be hopeful. I want to like it.
Oh, Brutalizer of Gods, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I think I remember the cover of this. Yeah. You know what? I feel like Tyler Dazzler's probably the thing you're looking forward to.
I mean, look over the covers. I just Jason Liu, is it on that?
Yeah, Jason Liu with Loureiro on
I'm
art.
yeah, I'm familiar with the artist, but I wasn't a fan of Liu's Sentry. And this is like, it's like they were like, all right, Lou, you get to write solo books for all the characters Tyler likes. Have fun, and it's like, hey, fool me once, can't get fooled again. I don't know the Bush quote. So I'm not excited for it. It has potential to be like a dark horse for me, but I don't know if excitement is the word.
Atomic Hound says, doesn't it seem ironic that Marvel is dropping Jonathan Hickman and Greg Capullo, Wolverine to absolutely smack down this relaunch of the X line? Kinda, yeah. Like, that is so much more of a hot team than any of these. And it's not a part of this package, which is really weird to me, but that's, that's Marvel for you. 12 books is too much, I think. I think that, yeah, you do want to have something for everybody, but this just feels like overload. How many of these books will even exist in a year from now? I mean, some of them are miniseries, to be fair, also. So they don't have the pressure of needing to do things that are going to allow them to exist in a year from now because they're not intended to. And I do think that for things like Mystique and Sentinels, that's pretty smart on Marvel's part to not even try to go the long road because it's probably not going to work out. Tell the initial pitch story, whatever the mission statement is, and do that and do it really well and get out. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, and I think it's cool. I think that makes sense also for that initial launch. You start big and you initially automatically whittle down. I'm picking up all these titles. See, like I'm back in the excitement of it. Maybe for those people who can afford to pick all of them up, and then from there the baseline moving forward post 6 issues is probably just Uncanny, just X-Men, maybe X-Force, maybe Wolverine. Uh, which is the strongest team for you guys on these?
Uncanny, pretty easily. You mean creative team, right?
Correct. Yeah.
I think it's Uncanny as well. Yeah.
I'm between Uncanny and Wolverine, actually. I think Saladin Ahmed's pretty good, and Kokolo crushes on art. So I feel like that's probably my second choice.
Yeah. Yeah. The Wolverine creative. I don't know. Saladin Ahmed, I like him a lot, but he hasn't done anything in a while that has like excited me. Even the Daredevil stuff he's been doing is like, it's fine. I really want to be excited by his work. So hopefully Wolverine can be that.
Sure.
I've seen a lot of the chat saying Uncanny as well. What else are you guys excited for? David Acevedo says, I got a free X-Force promo poster at your LCS. That's pretty sick. Atomic Hound says, I'm doing a 3-month trial of the relaunch.
Oh, interesting.
You doing like a normal 3-month trial or like a Sean 3-month trial? How's that? You still got the Amazon Prime?
Not only Amazon Prime?
The
yes.
Comixology,
Comixology.
sorry, the Comixology one.
Yeah, I do. And also, I really need to cancel my Barnes & Noble subscription because they're raising the rate to $40 a year, and I am not with that.
What do you get with that?
Like,
bullshit.
You get like 10%,
I don't even shop at
20%
Barnes
off
& Noble
books.
anymore.
Yeah, you get like 20.
I haven't bought a book from a Barnes & Noble in like a decade.
Man, I used to have to sell those memberships. I would have loved you, Sean.
They love me still.
10 years later. I forgot that X-Force was going to be, or X Factor rather, was going to be Mark Russell.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. And Bob Quinn? Okay.
Yeah. That's pretty solid. I like Bob Quinn. I like Mark Russell.
That's a smart writer. I'm interested to see what he does to this capacity. But this feels like, I feel like he is not an ongoing writer.
Yeah. I don't think this is a limited series. So yeah, I'm not so sure. Let's see. Yeah, there's nothing in this that suggests to me it's a limited series, but that doesn't mean it's not,
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So we'll see. Don't have too long to wait though. This Thursday on Pals Pulls at 6 p.m. Eastern, we will kick things off with our review of X-Men #1. So stay tuned for that. And let's jump over into the DC side of things and talk about a new Batman book. What?
Whoa, whoa. Who?
What? A new Batman book from DC. And get this, it's Black Label. Can you believe that?
What? Or Batawang?
No.
But by the title, it
Oh.
seems like it's gonna be badass this time.
It's Batman Full Moon. Batman giving us the full moon.
Hey, yo.
And it's going to be written by Rodney Barnes. Rodney Barnes, who is a TV writer, I believe, who also has quite a few comics credits now under his belt. Most recently, he did the Luke Cage Gang War for Marvel, which the first issue was good. And Stevan Subic on art. Riddler Year One, which I enjoyed quite a bit.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Very, very interesting creative team on this. And the premise is compelling too. So it's coming out in October, right at the perfect time. And it is about Batman going head to head with a werewolf.
Damn.
So Batman Full Moon is an ancient and supernatural force stalks the streets of Gotham City, a werewolf so powerful it'll defy Batman's most trusted resources, his brilliant mind and extensive gadgetry. But are Batman's physical strength and resilience alone enough to put the creature down for good? Or will this fight strip him down to his very bones? Even powerful magical allies like Zatanna caution the Dark Knight that he may not walk away from this encounter unscathed.
Sounds pretty cool. Not gonna lie.
It does. I'm into it. I really like the Subic art. There were some previews provided by DC to the comicbook.com article that we are referencing, and it looks pretty damn good to me.
I'm okay. There's too many Batman books. Like DC Batman label, it's fine. If he shows full ass in this, maybe I'll buy. But like, I just had Batman versus Werewolves in Rom's detective run. There's some werewolf-esque characters in that. It's fine. I mean, if the buzz is good around it, sure. But I won't be picking it up unless it's on Palsverse. You know, there's always that that addendum when it comes to an issue one.
It's giving me Vertigo vibes, and I think that's kind of like the allure. The coloring, especially on those preview pages, are they're like muddied, and I like that for the style. The yellow's kind of like a mustard, dirty yellow. The red isn't. It's almost like a burgundy, and this green is just mucky. Your boy loves the muck.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this art style. I think this is really appropriate for this type of book, and I really love whenever they do something horror with Batman. You know, if they can nail it, if it can be, if it can lean into that vibe, then I think that that is something that we don't get as often with the character, and that does excite me. Black Label, I've slowed a lot on buying the Black Label books just because I feel like I don't care as much anymore. A lot of times they have inconsistent release schedules, and they are not in continuity, so a lot of times I just pass on them. But I really like the fact that Rodney Barnes is getting a shot at this too.
MP, yo, you're so right. I wish these Batman Black Label minis were just part of the Legends of the Dark Knight monthly series. Oversaturation, dilution, and overexposure of Batman, in my opinion. Yo, I have random issues of Legends of the Dark Knight, and it's just those one-off stories. They're just like, damn, I haven't thought of those in a while.
It's like those '90s books.
Yeah. I have like random ass.
Always in like
Azrael's
a quarter bin.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Azrael's in like a couple of them for no reason.
No, the reason was Azrael was in every book in the '90s.
Well, yeah. Wow, that's a good idea.
I want to shout out MP since you mentioned him for joining us over on Patreon.
Oh shit!
Yes, thank you so much, MP. Appreciate you, dude. Did anyone read the Batman? Asked David Acevedo. Yeah. Yeah, we were reviewing it, and it's okay. I know people have liked it. There have definitely been people who've enjoyed it more than I did. I really liked the first issue, but I found the second issue wanting, and I haven't gone back. I dropped it. Did you read it, David? Did you like it?
Anytime I read the word David, I just can't think of Independence Day with Harvey Fierstein going like David, David. It's a very weird deep cut, but that's all I
Another
hear.
random reference.
That's all I hear with when I see that name.
Uncanny Suit says we might need a book club on Batman Damn just to talk about the earth-shattering event in the industry that was the Bat Dick. Hell yeah, dude. I've got my copy.
I have my copy on my top shelf there. It's top shelf. I can show Wang on the stream if they didn't demonetize us.
Well, we have the unfortunate duty to discuss a topic today that is uncomfortable and not fun and that frankly sucks. But this show is about, talking about what happens in the comics industry and the people who work in it. And we have to discuss this. Neil Gaiman this week has come under fire as accusations have been made of him sexually assaulting two different women across two different decades. And the allegations are being put forth via a podcast from Tortoise Media. This is a 4-part series that is behind a paywall, so you have to pay to be able to listen. And they want you to subscribe to some app that they have in order to be able to, hear this in the first place. So I haven't heard the podcast myself because I'm not going to pay to listen to details of this, But a lot of websites, of course, did listen or have transcribed the essential pieces of what is on the podcast in order to disseminate this information. And so we've got articles from, take your pick, some of the biggest websites and news reporters, news outlets that exist: Business Insider, Rolling Stone, The Telegraph. And so it's worth noting that this podcast is co-hosted by Rachel Johnson, who is the sister of Boris Johnson, who is a very notable political figure in Britain.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. And the podcast details Gaiman, who of course is famous for, being one of the most celebrated creators in comics. He created, such amazing things as the Sandman, that we all know him for and love him for, American Gods, in the book world, just a lot of things, a creative force in the world. The allegations are the following. And again, if you are sensitive to this type of topic, if this bothers you, which I can completely understand why it would, and you don't want to hear this, this would be the time to jump out. So the first allegation is from the first one in this article from the Telegraph is from 2022. And Amanda Palmer, who was Gaiman's former wife, hired this woman who is named Scarlett. I don't know if that's her real name, but that is the name that is used for the podcast appearance. She was hired to look after the son of the couple. And she alleges that Gaiman assaulted her within hours of their first meeting, quote, stripping naked and joining her in a bath. She at the time was 22 years old, and he at the time was 61 years old. Gaiman has made comments on this incident, and he says that all they did was cuddle and make out, and that he had established consent for these actions. On her side of things, she says that the pain, quote, the pain was celestial. When she asked him to stop, he said, quote, or she says he, quote, laughed and said I needed to be punished and used his belt on me. Gaiman denies that portion of the allegation. The relationship continued on for another month, according to the Telegraph article, before Gaiman left New Zealand for the UK. She sent him messages during that time that indicated that she consented to the sexual activity. She also says she was required to sign an NDA after she stopped working as the nanny of the family.
Oof.
The second woman, who is an American woman who is known as Kay, was an 18-year-old fan when she encountered Gaiman in 2003 at a book signing in Florida. He was in his 40s at the time. She says that during a trip to Cornwall in 2007, she told Gaiman that she did not want to engage in penetrative intercourse because she had a UTI. But he went ahead and the act left her, quote, screaming in agony. Gaiman said the allegation is false. She says she maintained friendly contact with Gaiman after their relationship ended in 2008, but told the podcast, quote, as I got older, I realized that 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds, when you're in your 40s, look like kids. As the Me Too stuff became more nuanced, that was when I was like, wait a minute, something like that happened to me. She didn't report Gaiman to the police. Her first time coming forward, as far as anyone is aware, is to this podcast. Tortoise stated, quote, the grayest of gray areas when it comes to our sex lives, the area with the scope for genuine misinterpretation, but also the possibility of serious abuse. This is a very difficult and tough situation that is akin to some of the things we heard about, like Warren Ellis, where, he wasn't accused of assault necessarily, but he was accused of relationships that, some people would deem inappropriate, where he was, a very powerful, beloved figure who was having relationships with women who were far younger and potentially vulnerable. And they did not feel great about those interactions in the years after. Again, Gaiman does not deny either of he doesn't deny that he knows the women, and he doesn't deny that he had interactions with them that were sexual. He only denies the parts that go beyond the pale into those women not wanting to have relations with him and him making them happen or doing things that they didn't consent to.
Yeah, or extremities of violence in that case. That's disappointing, man. When I first saw it, come up, I was hoping that these were just allegations, and he wouldn't. It wouldn't be true. There's a part of me just being a fan of his and reading so much of his work, and I'm typically pretty good at separating art from the artist, but this was one of those where it was pretty difficult. And I think the part that really kind of like crushed me was when he didn't denounce the first allegation. He just said, well, it wasn't to that degree. It's like, damn, dude, like, there's a moral bankruptcy there to some degree for me. And I think that's the shitty part that, I still reconciling with. It's a shame to see this be the situation, and then him being still married at the time, and there's just a lot of complexity there that's just like, you're being a shitty dude, and dude in the colloquial sense of being a person, you're just being a shitty individual.
I mean, I think him and Amanda Palmer had an open relationship at the time, so that, yeah. That's when they divorced, like the clear how they described it was like, oh, we just kept breaking each other's hearts. And it happened shortly after he left New Zealand, so I'm curious if, this could have been one of those instances of that. But in both cases, one, it's somebody he hired, and the second one, it's a fan. the most cut and dry power dynamics you can possibly get. And his complete lack of understanding that is bonkers to me. Like, those are just so unfair. Because even like a yes is a coerced yes, inherent in that dynamic, really. None of these seem to be enthusiastic consent, which is gross. So at minimum, it's disgusting. But it could even be worse than that if some of the alleged, like more physical stuff is to believed. So yeah, it's disgusting. And Gaiman is one of Miracle Man, Sandman, Books of Magic, then into his, prose, his fiction work, his actual book work. Probably one of the most prolific fantasy authors in the modern era, really, that's still alive. So it sucks. It sucks. It's like never meet your heroes. But yeah, this is disgusting.
So Tortoise Media got a statement from Gaiman, presumably through his lawyers. He says, quote, the statement is, quote, he denies any unlawful behavior with Kay and is disturbed by her allegations. He believes Kay's allegations. Kay is the 2000s woman.
The fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scarlet is the babysitter. So he believes Kay's allegations are motivated by her regret over their relationship, and that Scarlet was suffering from a condition associated with false memories at the time of her relationship with him, a claim which is not supported by her medical records and medical history.
That's wild.
The fuck? The first one being a fan interaction sucks. And then to accuse memory, like to imply some kind of memory thing, that's buck wild.
Yeah, he's just like just shove her in the room with the yellow wallpaper, like it's so typically like, oh, she's just crazy. It's so dismissive.
Yeah.
Especially with no medical evidence for it too. It's like, what are you talking about, dude?
This is really tough. This is really, really tough. We're at a place where whether something is legal or not doesn't have anything to do or little to do with whether something is moral or not. And I personally can put aside, for the sake of this conversation, I guess, all right, so you had relations with women who were younger than you, decades younger than you. All right. Okay. They wanted to do some amount of these things with you. Okay. The fact that there are things that happened that they didn't want to happen, that is where I feel very comfortable coming down on this, if the allegations are true. There is some I have read that Gaiman has come out staunchly for trans rights, and that there might be some reason to want to burn him on the part of the podcasters because of Rachel Johnson's connection to Boris and all that.
Sure.
There may be some kind of political angle or whatever, but their ulterior motives don't have anything to do with the accusers potentially having ulterior motives. And am I able to believe that a guy who had a lot of power and was one of the most celebrated creatives in the world was comfortable using that to have sex with a younger girl, and then took that power that he had even further and did things that she didn't want to happen? Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty easy to believe, actually.
Yeah.
This is a case of like multiple things can be true at once.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
I know some of the writers on this have had like staunchly TERF opinions that have been out there, and Gaiman a staunchly pro-trans person. That is also bad, and monetizing it through a podcast that you have to pay for to understand any of this doesn't sit right with me either, especially from the people that are writing it. It just stinks. But that doesn't take away from the fact of the actual facts that we have for the alleged incidents. So, yeah, this is just messy all around. This is the capital M messy, in my opinion.
I like what David said. David said there should be a human instinct in that moment where you should know this is wrong. And I think that's what often bothers me in these situations where it's like, okay, so I just don't think that a person is a good person if they're willing to engage in acts with another that that person doesn't clearly want. Especially if we're talking about something like using the belt on her was one of the allegations. Like, that's getting into territory where you really, really have to know that a person wants that to do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's straight up abuse because it does involve pain, right? And the person said, there was a quote here that's straight from the actual podcast where Scarlett said the pain was celestial. I don't know exactly what that's supposed to mean. When I read that, my mind said that it was euphoric, like,
I
but it could have
Mm.
also meant like us, like it was that painful that it was like a celestial level of pain. But that seems like a weird way to describe that, so I'm not sure.
I was reading it as like it was just all kinds of pain, physical and emotional.
it was a broad term. Like I've heard it used in the term of like celestial music, like all
Right,
good.
All
But that's
encompassing it.
yeah.
but it does say that he refused to stop when she asked, which again, if we can all agree that if someone says, "Hey, I don't want this anymore," you stop it in any environment. Like, it doesn't even matter what's happening; it could be anything.
Especially kink, you need to have clear boundaries and ground rules for that.
Yep.
Consent is even more important in situations like that. Can't be one sided.
This is sad. This is frustrating. It's disgusting. And we've had to do this with some creators a few times over the years. And for me, this is the one that strikes the most as just fucked up across the board. Because like I said, there can always be an aspect of you that says, well, hey, these are people that were of age who also knew what they wanted and were getting into something that they wanted to engage in. And if they don't feel that way down the line, that doesn't necessarily make what happened in that moment wrong, right? But when we're talking about what's consented to and what's not, now we're in abuse territory, and that's something that can never stand.
Yeah.
So this man who was on top of the world, who has a new season of Sandman impending, now that castle, that sand castle that he built, is going to fall apart because Neil Gaiman was an unproblematic faith. He was a guy who stood for the progressive things that we all want. And his books were considered unproblematic as well. They were a part of the literature that we consider to be American literature. Like, this is the stuff. And that's not going to be the case anymore, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah. The support therein is can quickly dwindle. And I mean, it's hard to make the argument, well, I support this individual with these recent allegations. It's yeah, it makes for a difficult uh, place to place faith.
Yeah, Gaiman was like one of those like Tumblr creators. You know what I mean? Like the one that's like the worst thing you could say about him is that maybe he's a bad husband and Miracle Man didn't come out. That's it's different now. This is not good at all. Yeah, especially like the Sandman announcement for like the new cast and Netflix announced it like on a Thursday, and then this or like on a Wednesday, and this was the day afterwards, and I was like, oh
Yeah.
god.
Yep.
And it does make me wonder if the timing was deliberate, I'm personally of the mind that this was a hit piece.
Yeah.
Mm.
But that doesn't change the realities for the people involved.
Especially from like an SEO standpoint, clearly riding a wave in terms of announcements.
Sure.
But yeah, I agreed, Sean.
Sucks, man.
What happens next, Marco? Do you have the capacity, if you feel comfortable answering this, do you have the capacity to continue to read what Neil Gaiman does?
I think I will. I'll look at the characters, and I feel like I'll examine the writing differently. I think I'll still be able to take a look at the things that are produced and still take that in. But with the recency of this, um, it'll be under a different lens. It'll be skewed to some degree, and maybe that'll disappear in time. No, I'm not clamoring to go back to Children's Crusade now, but like, I think to be able to read something new, it might take me a second. It sucks. It just sucks. Eventually, I'll get to a point where like, okay, I'm in a better place with his actions with respect to how I feel about the consequences of them. Um, and I'll have to just separate that. I can do that.
I've read his work already that I care about. He doesn't. I don't really read books. I'm essentially illiterate in that sense. So like I have no horse in this race. See ya.
He just came out with one. I think.
Does that have
damn,
pictures?
it had like some art in it. It was a really really recent one. I think yesterday we had gone to me and my girlfriend had gone to the bookstore, and I think we picked that one up just because like, oh, he's a great writer. I hadn't read the Discord yet.
Damn,
So,
nice timing, Marco.
dude, I got back. I got back home, and I'm like, yeah, shit.
You guys hear that? Marco's buying Neil Gaiman books.
It's like, shit. We're gonna have to
yeah.
talk about this in the podcast tomorrow.
Well, you're counting down your top 5 DC events. You know,
I know.
putting
I
praise
know.
on Neil
I had that
Gaiman.
one ready too.
Didn't look too far into the schedule, did you? But yeah, no, it's like, all right, see you, bud. Yeah,
I don't really have a deep connection to Gaiman's work. I've read a bit, you know. I'm this is not something that will preclude me from being able to read anything in the future. Like if somehow we ended up doing a book club on his stuff, I would be fine with that. But, you know, it's more sad for the legacy. It's more sad for the fact that this is a guy that did so much, that was so celebrated, that brought people into the fold, that now has this scarlet letter attached, this black mark, you know, and it's likely that a lot of conversations surrounding Neil Gaiman's work will have to include conversations about this. And that sucks. That sucks a lot.
it makes sense why some women choose the bear over over men sometimes. There's only more proof for that.
It sucks for the people who have been deeply impacted by what he's done, like the work that he's done. You know, Joss Whedon it's a similar case where the accusations are not the same, but you know, where this is a guy whose work on Buffy was extremely progressive and helpful to a lot of people, a lot of women, a lot of men. Buffy helped me a lot to understand um you know, what women could be like, to not think, oh, all women have to be frail and weak. You know, they can be powerful and strong and kick ass and all these great things that for some people are tainted now because of what they know about Joss and his treatment of women in real life. And it's the same thing here. And so what I would say, and everybody has to do what they have to do ultimately. And wherever you land on this is okay for you. But what I would say is, if you can, try to take the message and leave the messenger. If the message of the work means something to you, then maybe that's something that you can retain within yourself and leave the person who made that message and gave that message to the side. Because it's still a valuable message. It's still important, even if he's a fuck up who couldn't handle himself. You don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. But if you do have to, that's okay too. If that is something you need to do, that is perfectly fine.
I just imagine somebody throwing a baby out with bathwater. Like, yikes.
Blazeman says, I'll still consume and even enjoy his work, but I can't be a fan of him anymore, if this is true. Right. Exactly. Exactly.
It's a shame.
David says, this has me in the same position with Warren Ellis, The Batman's Grave. It was a solid book at the time, and then the news broke out, but I'm not that big a fan of Warren. Yeah, that was another instance where it was tough. It was really, really shitty that went down with Warren. And he still hasn't, I mean, he's dipped his toe a little bit here and there, but he hasn't been able to pick up big work since. And I'm not so sure he ever will.
No, he's tried. I feel like, and I was a big fan of his Hellblazer stuff, Transmetropolitan, some of the other things, that random image books that he came out with. Like I was following him as a writer. That one again, it's like, fuck, dude, just be good people.
Yeah.
Why do artists have to be so fucked up?
I don't even want to comment on that.
That's a different discussion entirely, Marco.
Amin says, I had the same experience with EVS. I loved his art so much, and hear him say those horrible things made me so sad. I can still enjoy Gaiman, just not a fan anymore. Dude, EVS, that was rough. That sucked. That really sucked.
Post Green Lantern for you guys?
Yeah.
EVS became such a dirtbag that I don't even think it sucks anymore. Like, he went so into it that I was like, I just can't like anything anymore. Did he do Sinestro Court War?
He had a piece of it, I believe.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, sorry we had to have that touchy conversation, but you guys know that on this podcast, we don't shy away from anything. And I also want to say that if this impacts you in a negative way, you know, engage with some things you love today. You know, get into some stuff that you love that makes you feel good, that can take away from this. Gavin says, I think it's less that they're artists and more that they're in a position to be praised by people, and that can be a slippery slope. That's a great point. Because we hear about it in this sphere because this is the sphere that we are in, and this is where we are operating. But you're right. You know, I think it happens in all spheres. You know, how many offices have had inappropriate, you know, situations go on with the boss and an intern, or the boss and their secretary, or, you know, whatever. It's not uncommon. It's not unheard of by any means. We expect, I think it's actually the opposite. We expect creative people to not be like this. And so when they are like this, it's like, hey, what the fuck? You're supposed to be one of the good ones. Like, I don't want to get too political, but it's like there are some people who you hear them say something, or you hear something attributed to them, and it's like, well, yeah, that tracks for this person. Do you know who you're talking about?
Sure.
But then when you hear it about someone else who you wouldn't expect it from, who's doing work that you admire and respect, and then you hear that they're actually a shitty person on the low, it cuts deeper. It cuts a lot deeper.
Yeah.
No one was shocked by Harvey Weinstein. A lot of people were shocked by Bill Cosby.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
Kind of like that. I want to give a gift to the listeners. You guys have been great today. You stuck around. You hung in there through a conversation that's pretty tough to have. And, you know, we've had a good day with you all. So I want to give a gift. I want to give the gift of some channel memberships. It's the beginning of the month. The beginning of the month, and I'd love to start you guys off with some channel memberships this month. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give away 5 channel memberships to some loyal listeners in the chat right now. So here we go. I'm gifting 5. Congratulations to the winners. Who do we have here?
It's always me, dude. It's
We've got.
always.
Yo, what is?
What are you guys doing? You gotta leave.
I'm
did-
not
I-
in
I
it. I
did.
did leave.
I
Oh,
did.
is it just anyone who's a sub?
No,
I don't think.
surely
Yeah,
it's-
I think it's anyone, even if they're not watching. Yeah.
That's so annoying. Marco was gifted
What's
a
up?
membership.
Thank you so much. Hey, I want to thank personally the Comics Pals. Now that I have the platform, thank you so much for being able to grant me this opportunity.
There are over 50 people here, and somehow Marco and I got gifted memberships. So annoying.
The mods.
Gavin was gifted a membership, so congrats to Gavin. Congrats to Columbo and Vincent Flanagan. Hope you guys enjoy your membership.
I smell collusion.
Yeah.
Recount. I need a recount.
It's just bullshit. It's so
whenever
annoying.
whenever you announce it, I immediately go like, okay, where's mine? Where's mine? Close out. Let's go. And
Yeah.
then
Of course.
maybe you have to refresh. Maybe you have to refresh and then submit.
YouTube gonna YouTube Marco.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying. Thank you very
That
much
too.
again to the Comics Pals. Tyler, Bean,
Yeah,
and
Sean, do you want to?
Christopher.
Sean, do you want to do a thank you speech as well?
Christopher. Who the fuck is Christopher? I want to thank the listeners. Thank you all. Appreciate you guys. Gavin gifting
Yo.
a membership. Thank you, Gavin, for doing that, paying it forward to Cole. Congratulations,
go.
Cole. CW Gordon. There's got to be some kind of low-key money laundering at this point.
CW Gordon, if you don't stop typing right now,
Don't look at the books, okay? Yo,
Oh shit. Uncanny
Jeez.
says I'm glad Marco finally got in. Yeah.
thank you. This is my like 7th time. I always get it, and then I watch the videos that we put out early. I'm like, oh, that was pretty good. I remember that one.
oh yeah, I was on that.
Yeah. G's in the chat. G's in the chat for Gavin.
It's like your 51st dates. You have to rewatch our shows to remember you were on it. Just like
That's
every
right.
morning. Yeah.
Streams of tears.
Our goal for likes this week was 50. You guys smashed it. I got to set that a little higher. Still like the video if you haven't. There are 50 plus of you with us right now, almost 3 hours deep. So thank you guys for that. Hit the like button. Consider joining the channel like Marco and I just did.
Lead by example, actually. That kind of works. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But because of that, that means that we can play a game. That means we can spin our wheel of games and have a little bit of fun to close out the show. So Tyler, why don't you take it away and hit that wheel?
I wish I had a physical wheel. That'd be so much fun. Oh, wait a minute. Shouldn't have said that. All right. Let's
Before we get into that, Amin with the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you, Amin. Rami, congratulations. Promiscuous Time Traveler, congratulations once again. Danny Luong, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, congratulations. And JNYC, congratulations.
Yo, we got some lurkers there.
I love it. I love when the lurkers get channel memberships. I don't even know you guys, but you love us, you listen to us, and congratulations to you.
So I spun the wheel, and we got 2 truths, 1 lie. You want to stick with it, or should I respin it, or
Respin it.
respin it? Okay. I kind of mistimed the fanfare there. What do we got this time? Oh. We have a draft.
Oh, cool.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
I forgot that was on the thing.
Yes, I do have my die here. I've got my. Damn, I want to use my new die. I just got some new die.
Do it. Yeah. No. Use
Yeah.
it. Use it. Using new die is cathartic.
It really
Yeah.
is. Okay, I'll grab them real fast.
Yeah. I like to. So I don't play any dice games, but what I like to do is I play high and low with my cats. So I'll put dice on my desk, and my cat Jordy, he knows the dice is on there, so he knows to knock it down. And if it's it's a D20. So if it's above 10, he wins. If it's below 10, he loses, and he gets treats. So I gamble with my cat occasionally.
That's so funny.
Dude, look at these, man. These are Avengers die.
From what?
Oh, clean. I like the color.
They're like orange and grayish.
Oh, okay.
Sick.
What are they from?
They are from HeroClix, actually. HeroClix puts out these sets of, You know what? I should show you guys those too. They're like poker chips.
I've seen them.
That yeah, they're sick. I'll get them real fast.
Yeah, yeah.
Marco, do you play any games with your cat?
My cats,
Do you gamble?
I play. I keep away from them.
Keep away.
Keep them away from me while I'm doing things. Most I get to do. I chuck little things at them too.
Little greenies or a tasty treat, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah.
check this shit out, man.
Crazy
Look at
for that shit.
these. These are sick. I've got
Ooh.
Emma here. This is from the House
yeah.
of X era that they did.
10x10.
Yeah.
Is that
I've got who's that? Cap. I've got
Cap.
Cap. That's from the same set as these die.
and what was
can
what's
kinda
the other,
tell.
the other one is what? Ultron?
I have a ton. This one is Ant-Man actually.
Ant-Man. Oh, cool.
Whoa.
That's a Tony Stark Ant-Man.
Kang.
Spoiler.
I got Kang there. Cyclops. So I have a whole bunch of fun ones anyway.
What hero clicks?
Yeah, it's a game that you play on a board with figures. And I have a whole bunch of the figures. I could show those off too if you want. But and you roll die for, moving the characters, and they have powers, and it's you play against each other, or you can team up against an objective. You can fight a boss. They make like big Galactus figures, for example,
What?
that have big power sets and abilities that you have to fight against as a team.
Do you have the Kree Supreme Intelligence?
No.
That's the one I want because like Hasbro has never put out a Marvel Legends for it, but it's just sick. It's a big tube with the head in it and everything. Oh, it's so good.
All right. Real quick, I'll show a couple hero clicks.
Yeah. Okay. So with my cat Marco, we're going to cat talk while Sean's gone. He's had I have a balloon on a string now, and he grabs it by the string and just runs throughout the house with it.
Yep.
Until he ran near the ceiling fan, and thankfully it bopped the balloon away instead of getting caught in the. That was crisis averted, but could have been bad.
Yeah.
I'll have to wait until I am putting the timestamps on this to hear what the guys are talking about when I'm not here.
Oh,
but
enthralling conversation.
I bet. I've got, so this is what a hero clicks looks
sick.
like. It's a non-posable statue figure, essentially.
Non-fungible token.
This is a Juggernaut one. This is pretty cool. It's a super rare, so it's kind of like, pretty cool. I've got Professor X right here, and you can see, what's a good example? Yeah, Wolverine. You can see that there's a dial there, and so you turn the dial. These are incredibly hard to turn, by the way.
It's probably for the better, because if you get a loose one, that kind of ruins the figure,
right? It's not great because you do need to turn them to play.
Sure, yeah.
So, but yeah, you turn the dial. They've got different powers and abilities. It's very fun. I used to be addicted to it. I used to have people over constantly to play this. This was like the game at my house.
I remember seeing you got the whole X-Men set up from what I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Love it. Anyway, sorry for my little hero clicks deviation. I see some people in the chat know what it is and like it though, so that's cool.
I mean, after that last discussion, a little more lighthearted, passion about a fun little project, much needed.
Indeed. And speaking of fun, we are going to be playing a draft. So let's see. How about this one's kind of fun. I wanted to do it with Kale, but that's okay. The Super Friends draft.
Super Friends.
So the way this will work is we are going to draft 6 characters. Your first drafted character can be whoever you want. It doesn't matter. It can be anybody from Marvel or DC. But your second drafted character has to be a friend of the first character you drafted. There has to be a reasonable, legitimate connection between them, a deep friendship that we all believe that they're actually friends. And I'm sure we can think of examples. Your third drafted character can be anybody you want, but your fourth has to be tethered to the third and same going on.
Okay.
So three duos essentially of good buddies.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Exactly. All right. And I've got my die here as oh no, I don't want to use those. I've got my die here as we established. I will roll them to determine the order that we will be drafting it. So here we go. I'll roll first for Marco. That is a 2, snake eyes.
Oof, damn. All right.
Not good.
Don't
I'll
like
roll
me.
for myself. Oh, that fell off.
Redo.
Those dice were literally cocked.
That is a 9.
Damn.
And I will roll for Tyler. That is a 10. So Tyler, myself, and Marco. That'll be the order.
Thank you, David Acevedo, for joining the becoming a Comics Pal sidekick. Appreciate it.
Hey.
Thank you,
so much.
David. Appreciate you.
All right, so I'll start this off, and I got to start it. If we're talking about friends here, I had to go friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Give me Peter Parker, Spider-Man.
Okay. Okay, good. I'm going to start with Batman.
Damn it.
That dude got no friends. Come on,
Yeah,
he's
he
got
does.
coworkers.
He got buddies.
He's got coworkers and enlisted children.
All right. Then I'm going to do Aquaman. And I'm going to do who's his octopus buddy?
I
What?
knew you were going here, Marco.
I'm
You can't draft a character you don't even know.
I don't know his name, but I know he's his friend.
So, Marco, here's a tip. If you're going
Topo.
for that, who?
Topo.
Topo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're drafting Aquaman and Topo.
Yeah.
All right.
You just gave up on these
Sure.
drafts, didn't you, Marco?
No, because he stole Batman because I was going to do Batman and Scooby Doo.
All right. Well, for my second pick, I'm going with Superman.
Boo, vanilla.
Good.
Sean goes for power every time. You know this, Marco. This is what he goes for. So for Spider-Man's best friend, Human Torch, Johnny Storm. One of my
Very good.
not played around with enough anymore, but real good friends. And then I'm gonna start with my second round with Green Lantern, Hal Jordan.
Ooh.
Okay. Okay. I like it. I am going to start my second round with Steve Rogers, Captain America.
A man with many friends.
Indeed. So which direction will I go in?
I'm gonna go with. Damn it. I'm gonna go with Swamp Thing. And begrudgingly his best friend, Constantine.
I feel like that friendship is one-sided. Like, I think maybe Swamp Thing would maybe consider Constantine a friend. Ain't no way Constantine considers Swamp Thing his friend.
When he needs him, he does, and when he doesn't, he's the green guy.
Worst friend ever. Those are the worst types of friends.
He's a toxic friendship.
Those are the friends. It's like, hey, can you cover me real quick for when you go out? And then like they ghost you for like a month
yeah.
until like they think you forgot about it.
For Captain America's friend, I'm going to draft Thor.
So I picked Green Lantern before. Give me Oliver Queen, Green Arrow, Hard Traveling Heroes.
Ooh.
Oh, you went a different direction.
You thought I was gonna go Flash, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Nah.
I did. I thought about the counter pick, but I was like,
No.
I don't even know who I would draft to be the friend of Flash.
Flash is free now though, so if that's all you if you want it.
Well, you get to go again.
Oh yeah, that's true. And let me start off the next round with This one might be a little. You know what? Let's start out. Doctor Doom.
Huh.
Doctor Doom.
Okay. All right.
There might be some debate later. We'll see.
I'm smelling it. Okay, so I'll go with I'm gonna draft Jean Grey.
Okay. Gonna end my round with Blue and Gold, Booster Gold, and Blue Beetle.
Probably one of the most fun friend groups.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about this. I'll ask it after the draft is over. And for Jean Grey's friend, I am going to draft Storm.
Oh,
I thought you were gonna say Wolverine. I was gonna be like, wait a minute. More than
Right, friends with benefits is still friends.
That's true.
Damn.
Hey, you got me there. Yeah.
And who was your last pick?
At their core,
Here we go.
I
Do
think-
not do it.
Dr. Doom, Victor Von Doom, and Reed Richards
Nope.
are friends at their core.
vetoed.
At their core, this is something they want. It's the friend you had a falling out with, but you know, a decade later, you still think about them. You're like, man, I wish we were friends. And I think there could be a time when they mend that friendship. But I think at their just the apex of who they are as people, I think they're friends. And
Veto.
I think they kiss. No, just joking.
Veto. Marco?
Immediately vetoed. They're like enemies and stuff.
You could be your main antagonist could be your best friend.
Chat saying no.
No, as in no to the veto, or no to the
No to that pick.
I don't know. Yeah, Roboters, Doctor Doom, Reed Richards, The Odd Couple reboot. There we go.
The Odd Couple reboot retcon.
I choose to read the words I want to read.
I know. Marco, do you consent to this or not?
Nah, man, I can't. That's no. It's they're the antithesis of each other. They end up being the antithesis of each other. Doom has Reed over for dinner sometimes. He helped Sue give birth. What else could you ask for in a friend?
Flash and Reverse Flash. Yeah, exactly.
Their dynamic is not Flash, Reverse Flash. Reverse Flash is the biggest hater.
Tyler, you're going to have to do something else.
I disagree, but let's see. Who are Doom's other friends?
There's one that's like so obvious. I don't know.
Kang. Doom and Kang.
You could go with Kang. You could go with Valeria.
I don't want Valeria. She's just smart. That's all I want. I think Kang. I think Doom and Kang. Kang is a distant relative to Reed, so at least Reed's great grandson is also friends with his best friend. But that's fine. Doom and Kang.
Yeah, Harris says Doom is the biggest hater of Reed. There's no doubt about it.
I don't think he wants to be, though.
Okay. So this is where we landed. Tyler drafted Spider-Man and Human Torch, Green Lantern and Green Arrow, and Doctor Doom and Kang. I went with Batman and Superman, Captain America and Thor, and Jean Grey and Storm. Marco went with Aquaman and Topo, Swamp Thing and Constantine, and Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. Now, Marco.
Yep.
And chat, please let us know who you think won the draft. There's a poll up right now. Vote in the poll. Let us know who you think won. Marco.
Yep.
I thought you were going for the theme of a person and their animal companion, right? Is
Yeah.
that okay?
That was the plan.
So then what the fuck happened at the end?
His
I
comic
didn't
knowledge
know.
ran out.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna end it with like Superman and and Crypto, but then I'm like I couldn't
Man's
figure out
best
a middle one because the three were gonna be Aquaman and Topo. The first one was Batman and Superman and Scooby Doo, but I forgot Topo's name, so I had to quickly pivot because that was gonna be number 2. And then number 3, I was gonna do Superman and Crypto.
You forgot the obvious one for you, though. It's Kitty Pryde and Lockjaw.
Oh,
Lockheed.
Lockheed. Oh, that's right.
Or Sam Wilson and Falcon.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the
That
other
that
Falcon?
would not have
though?
come to me first.
The other Falcon.
The bird, the actual bird.
Right, yeah.
Oh, Red Wing.
Eagly.
Redwing, yeah.
Yeah.
Red Wing.
Peacemaker and Eagly.
That would count. Would you have considered Magneto and Professor X?
Yes.
Yeah.
See, I think that's
That's-
the dynamic Doom and Reed
Stop,
want.
please.
That's what they want at their core.
We've been doing this for 3 hours. The shtick is done. I don't. Please.
I love this comment. Gavin says Marco threw immediately after Uncanny Suit. Marco swept.
I think that's the reaction you look for, though.
Yeah, chaos, utter chaos.
Oh my god. That's hilarious. One day Marco's going to draft in a way that is like logical.
Never.
All right. Fair enough. Black Bolt and Lockjaw. Hell yeah.
It's funny, like that makes sense, but my head went Lockjaw, Miss Marvel.
Acceptable too,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
But it just proves how much Black Bolt kind of fell out of consciousness. Almost came back for Multiverses of Madness, but
Yeah, just so they could pop his dome.
Amin with a good one. Atrocitus and Dexstar.
you like those guys, Marco?
You know what? I've never read the Dexstar that like issue.
Oh,
the Red
dude.
Lanterns one.
It's good.
I just know about it.
Tyler, what is this on the screen right now? Aaron Ruiz says, I'm not going for Tyler because I just read Venom and both Kang and Doom hate each other's asses. To be honest with you, Aaron, I don't even think that Doom and Kang works. I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. So whatever. But I can't let Reed and Doom go. That's just crazy.
Kang and Doom had like a little hard traveling time travel story in the Doom book by Cantwell.
Yeah.
Oh, who's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur would have been another one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Damn.
Why are you still thinking about it?
Because they're all just coming to me now. I can't just think of them like that.
Marco, are they coming to you or is chat saying them?
No, I don't think anyone said that one.
Oh, okay.
That one came to me right now.
That is so funny, man.
Gavin,
Oh.
Marco did draft an octopus. All right.
Let's get those results.
Easily, Sean, 76%.
Oh,
I disagree, but
wow. Okay. Yeah.
I think it was.
Thank you,
I think it
guys.
was rigged against me. So
Hey, you started hot. Literally,
I
Spider-Man
mean,
and Human Torch.
I won Gavin's heart, and I think that's all that matters in the end.
Gavin says Sean cleared.
He said Sean won his brain, Tyler won his heart.
No. All right. Fair enough.
Like electoral college versus popular vote, I feel. Like I still lost, but
The next time that we will be live with you is this Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern for Pals Pulls. We are going to be we've got some pretty good books on deck, I think. We are going to be talking the debut of X-Men with X-Men #1, Ultimates #2, which is my pick for pick of the week already, and I haven't even read it. Action Comics 1067, Eddie Barrows and Gail Simone. Gail Simone's return to Action Comics. I'm super excited for that. And Geiger #4. So we've got a lot of good books on the docket for next week. And of course, your pick in the listener pick poll. Make sure you guys vote before you forget about us for the weekend. Go ahead and vote at youtube.com/thecomicspals under the community tab. Let us know what book you want us to read for this upcoming week's Pals Pulls. And enjoy your week. Enjoy your week. Hopefully we all have our digits after 4th of July and none of us lost them in a heinous firework accident. Hope we're all doing well. Read some great comics this weekend. Take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see how many people get that. Until next time, we're the Comics Pals signing off. Take care, guys.
see you next week.